The first thing I feel in the new body is sunlight on my face, and the second thing I feel is that this body is about to die. Both of those, honestly, are an upgrade. Because the last time I opened my eyes, I was in a wheelchair on the roof of a hospital watching a sunset I'd been told I had maybe a week left to enjoy, with my mom holding one of my hands and my dad pretending he wasn't crying into the other. Cancer, the slow kind, the kind that takes everything on layaway, first the legs, then the appetite, then the pretending. So when I say I woke up in a strange room in a strange body with my ribs stabbing me every time I breathed, understand that my very first thought was not where am I? My first thought was, oh, thank God I can see the sun again. Give me a second. The body's memories are pouring in and they are not cheerful. Turns out I'm in a world that had a very bad 500 years. A meteor came down half a millennium ago and cracked something open, and out of the crack came two things: spiritual energy, which let people cultivate and punch through walls, and Yao beasts, which are monsters the size of trucks that would like to eat those people. Humanity did the math: 600 cities before the meteor, under 100 now. The ones still standing only stand because a handful of monsters in human skin, the great masters, the ones whose names get carved into mountains, stand at the walls and refuse to move. Everybody else cultivates as hard as they can and hopes to become the kind of person the beasts hesitate to bother. And me? I'm at the very bottom of that ladder. The boy whose body this is was orphaned at 8. Parents gone in a beast surge 10 years back. The government relief that kept him fed cut off the day he turned 18, because 18 is when the state decides you're a man, and a man can starve on his own time. He's been cultivating anyway, grinding himself to martial apprentice rank 3 on garbage food and pure spite, and the reason I woke up on death's doorstep in this body is that its previous owner finally pushed one cultivation session too far on one empty stomach too many, and his heart just quietly clocked out. So that's the setup. New world, new name, Liu Liang, same old dead broke, dead parents, dead ending life. The universe gave me a second chance and wrapped it in a body that was also about to expire. Real generous, very thoughtful, and then, because apparently somebody upstairs did feel a little guilty, a panel of pale golden light unfolds in the air about a foot from my nose. It counts down from 10, 9, 8. I lie there watching numbers tick over my own face, unable to move, and I think, if this is the afterlife's loading screen, it needs a better designer. 3, 2, 1. Then it opens. Name, Liu Liang. Realm, martial apprentice, rank 3. And underneath, glowing like it's proud of itself, system cultivation technique, max level. Experience, 110 out of 2000. Passive gain, plus 3 experience per minute. I read it maybe 6 times. I've died once already. I've transmigrated once already, and I have watched enough garbage web novels in my first life to know exactly what I'm looking at. This is a golden finger, the cheat code. The thing that separates the guy who transmigrates and becomes an emperor from the guy who transmigrates and gets eaten by the first wolf he meets. Every reincarnated loser gets one. Mine turns experience points into levels, automatically. 3 a minute, forever, whether I'm fighting or sleeping or lying paralyzed on a cold floor questioning my life choices. System cultivation technique is a boring name for a miracle, so I do the only responsible thing and rename it on the spot. Northern Darkness Divine Art. The old legend, the one that swallows other people's power and makes it yours. If I'm going to have a cheat, it's going to have a cool name. I have standards. They're the only thing I've ever been able to afford. I don't get to admire it long, because the phone on the floor by the bed starts buzzing. It takes me 3 tries to reach it, and every one of them feels like doing sit-ups with a knife in my side, but I get it. The name on the screen is Teacher Li Mei, and the voice on the other end is so gentle it actually short-circuits me for a second, because nobody has talked to me, either me, in that voice in a very long time. She's my homeroom teacher. Honghai number 7 High, which is one of those glittering elite schools where the children of rich cultivator families get the best instructors and the best pills and a running start on the good life, and where exactly 1 scholarship kid is allowed in per year to make the brochure look fair. That's me, the brochure kid. She's calling on the first day of the holiday, a whole month off before the Marshall College entrance exam, to make sure I'm eating, and to tell me she's leaving some forging body powder at the front office for me, on her own money, because she's noticed I'm thin. I tell her I'm fine. She doesn't believe me, which is correct, but she lets it go, which is kind. I hang up and I sit there for a second holding a dead man's phone in a dying man's body, and I make a small private note that whatever else happens in this world, Li Mei is on the list of people I do not let get hurt. Then I get up because the passive gain says +3 a minute, and I am not going to lie here wasting income. Here's the beautiful thing about Northern Darkness Divine Art that took me exactly 1 afternoon to discover. It doesn't just level me up over time, it eats. Li Mei's forging body powder, the cheap training supplement she left me, 30,000 wen a pack, which for her is a gesture and for me is a month of eating. I hold one pack in my hand, will the art to draw on it, and it dissolves into light and pours into me, plus 500 experience. The pack is gone. No taste, no smoke, nothing left. The system doesn't waste a crumb. I stand in my sad little apartment holding the empty wrapper and I start laughing, and it hurts my ribs, and I keep laughing anyway, because I finally understand the shape of the thing I've been handed. Everything in this world is experience. Every pill, every scrap, every monster with a pulse. And I've got the one stomach that can digest all of it. Now I just need something to eat. A lot of something, which is how I end up back at the slaughterhouse. Yongxing Slaughterhouse sits on the wrong end of Honghai, and it's owned by a big quiet man named Zhao Hu, who has exactly one flaw as an employer, which is that he pays a little less than the going rate, and exactly one virtue that cancels the flaw completely, which is that he pays it, all of it, every time, on time, to a homeless-looking teenager everyone else in the city treats like a stain. The body remembers him being decent. I decide to trust the body on this one. The job is simple. Chickens, ducks, the daily flood of them. And I've realized I can do two things at once here that would look completely unhinged to anybody watching. I kill them with a dagger, over and over, clean strokes, which grinds my basic swordsmanship proficiency up point by point, like reps at a gym. And then, when nobody's looking, I let the art absorb the ones I've killed. Poultry gives maybe 10 experience a bird, which is nothing, except I am processing them by the crate, and nothing times 1,000 is a number I can actually use. By the second morning, my basic swordsmanship has crawled from nothing into beginner rank. My experience is sitting north of 1800. And I have discovered the second law of my new life, which is that grinding is only boring if it isn't working. The classmates find me on the way out. They come out of a nice restaurant across the street. Brother Hao and his little court, the son of the Feng family, the kind of boy whose father buys him body-strengthening cream at 300,000 a box the way other dads buy juice. And they clock me stepping out of a slaughterhouse in a stained apron, and you can actually watch the joke assemble itself behind Hao's eyes. Butcher. Look at the scholarship boy. Look at the trash the school let in. They film a little of it, laughing, and by that evening it's on the school forum with my name on it. Liu Liang is a butcher. And here's what I want you to understand about that, because it's the whole reason any of the rest of this works. I don't care. Not because I'm noble, because I've been dead. When you have watched your own hands stop working, a boy in a nice jacket calling you a butcher lands about as hard as weather. Say what you want, Hao. I'm the one leaving here richer than I came in, and you don't even know in what currency. I hold that thought all the way until the evening when Zhao Hu calls me into his office and hands me 2 million yuan, not in cash, in a pill. It's a small dark thing sitting in his enormous palm, and he tells me what it is like he's apologizing for it. A blood-replenishing, chi-enhancing pill, the real kind, the kind that fixes the exact deficiency I'm dying of and could push a starved apprentice up 2 whole ranks inside a month if he stops skipping meals long enough to let it work. It's worth 2 million yuan. He's giving it to me like it's a loan, along with 3,000 in actual cash, also a loan, in the specific gentle way people say loan when they have no intention of ever mentioning it again. I ask him why, and the big quiet man goes quiet in a different way, and then he tells me a story I did not have in my borrowed memories, because the boy whose body this is was never told it either. 19 years ago, Zhao Hu was not a man who owned a slaughterhouse. He was a martial artist, on a team, and 2 of the people on that team were my parents. This body's parents. They were good, better than good, and one day they put down a wounded Yao beast, an armored thing that should have been the hard part of the day. It wasn't. The hard part came after, when a second squad that had been waiting in the trees came down on them out of nowhere, led by a man Zhao Hu can still describe with his eyes closed, a man named Feng Jiansheng, who is today the mayor of Honghai City. Zhao Hu took wounds that dropped him from martial warrior all the way back down to apprentice and never climbed out. My parents survived that day, but they got framed for it. Painted as the attackers, hunted, names ruined, and then, a while later, they were handed a mission nobody was expected to come back from, dressed up as duty, and they didn't come back, and Zhao Hu has spent 19 years certain in his gut that the mission was just Feng Jiansheng finishing what the ambush started. He tells me this because he thinks I should know whose city I'm starving in. He tells me the mayor still has eyes on this family, quietly, the way you keep an eye on a debt you're not sure is fully paid. He tells me to keep my head down and get into a good college far away and live. I say the right things. I take the pill. I go home. And in the dark of that threadbare apartment, there are 2 small photographs on the wall, a man and a woman I have never met and now apparently have to avenge. And I stand in front of them for a long time not saying anything clever, because this is one of the moments where the mouth stays shut. I died once with my real parents holding my hands. These 2 never got hands to hold. Somebody took that from them and then took the blame off himself and pinned it on the dead, and then went home to be the mayor. I don't make a speech. I just make a decision, quietly, the way Zhao Hu says, loan. Feng Jiansheng, a gentleman takes his revenge cold, and he takes his time, and I have all the time in the world now and a stomach that eats everything. Then I stop being solemn because solemn doesn't level me up. I take the 2 million yuan pill Zhao Hu gave me, and I do not feed it to the art for a lazy pile of experience points. I swallow it like a person. Some things you invest in the long way. It hits my chest like a small sun coming on. The pill doesn't ask permission. It just detonates in my chest and every cell in my body wakes up screaming for fuel, and I ride that wave straight through the rank 4 wall and out the other side into martial apprentice, rank 5, in a single night, rank 5. I stand up the next morning and the floor feels closer, my hands feel heavier, and when I test a punch against the door frame, the wood remembers it. 500 jin of force behind a fist. I could put a bull down with one punch now, which is a strange thing to be able to say about yourself over breakfast. Rank 5 is also, according to the memories, the exact minimum a place like Wuhan University will look at without laughing. Minimum, the floor. For a top school, I'd need rank 7, and the exam is less than a month out. So I try to speedrun it the honest way, and the honest way is garbage. There's a foundational body tempering set, the basic gymnastics 18 forms, and I sweat through 30 minutes of it and earn 1 point of realm progress. And I decide on the spot that the honest way is for people who don't have a magic stomach. I go find the answer bank instead. The theory exam is 100 points of memorized trivia, 500 practice questions that the real questions are just shuffled from, and memorizing a list is the one thing my first life's education prepared me perfectly for. Tick. Theory. Handled. Now back to the part that actually works. And that's when the sword thing happens for the first time. I'm at the slaughterhouse, mid-swing, doing my reps, when the world drops out from under me, and I'm suddenly standing in a gray, formless space watching figures I can't quite see practicing swordsmanship. Dozens of them, blurred at the edges like a photo of a photo, all running the same basic forms I've been grinding, and one of them near the front feels familiar. Familiar in a way that makes the back of my neck prickle. I try to focus on him, and the space spits me back out into my own body, gasping, and my basic swordsmanship has jumped a full grade to minor achievement without me lifting a finger. I file that away under questions for later, right next to who is the blurry man, and stop thinking about him during work. It'll be a while before I get an answer. Trust me, it's worth the wait. Then teacher Li Mei shows up at my apartment, which is a problem because nobody at that school knows where the poor kid lives, and I intend to keep it that way. She found out anyway. She stands in my doorway looking at the clean, freezing, threadbare little room where a scholarship boy has been quietly starving with dignity, and I watch her do the math on it, and I watch her decide not to cry in front of me, which I appreciate. She scolds me instead, gently, 28 days to the exam, don't you dare give up, you have a future whether you believe it or not. And then she puts 10 packs of forging body powder on my table. 10. Her own money again. A teacher's salary, walked across the city and set down on a butcher boy's table like it's nothing. I say thank you. I mean it in a way I don't have the vocabulary for yet. And the second the door closes behind her, I feed all 10 packs to the art. I know how that sounds. She carried that here out of kindness, and I inhaled it in 4 seconds flat. But understand, kindness that keeps me weak keeps me a target, and the fastest way I have to honor a woman who believes I have a future is to go out and get one. 5,000 experience all at once, and the pill has smoothed my foundation so well there's no discomfort at all, just a clean shove straight up to martial apprentice rank 6. Having a teacher like that is a kind of wealth I'm not used to. I decide again quietly. The list. She's on the list. The next morning I do something I haven't been able to do in either of my lives, which is buy breakfast without checking the price twice. There's a little shop right under my building, Way's Place, a husband and wife and their kid, and they've been quietly decent to me the whole time. An extra egg slipped into the bag, a couple of buns that never make it onto the bill. The specific low-key charity of poor people who recognize a poorer kid. Today I've got 3,000 borrowed yuan and a body that finally wants food. And I order 3 meat buns and a soy milk and pay for all of it, and Wei slips me a 4th bun anyway out of pure habit. 10 yuan. Best 10 yuan I've spent in 2 lifetimes. Put the Weiss on the list too. The list is getting to be a nice length. It's the only thing I'm collecting faster than experience. You'd think a butcher boy buying breakfast wouldn't be a news story. You'd be underestimating the news club. Honghai number 7 has a news and photography club, and the news and photography club has smelled a mark in the water, and the mark is me. Their president is a girl named Zhao Ning, flanked by 2 vice presidents and a camera boy, and they set up outside the slaughterhouse with a live stream running to something like 100,000 viewers, and they come at me with the bright predatory smile of people who have already decided how the edit ends. The viral butcher. A few words for your fans? Tell us how it feels. I look at the camera, I look at the girl, and I say one word. Roll. Then I walk off, apron still on, and I don't look back, and that clip, 6 seconds of the scholarship charity case telling the beloved club president to get lost goes off like a bomb. Except they hold the camera. So the edit doesn't show a poor kid setting a boundary. The edit shows a brute bullying a sweet girl who only wanted to help, and by nightfall the whole school forum has turned into a coordinated hate campaign with my name at the center of it. Here's the part they don't put in the edit. Zhao Ning is the girl brother Hao, Feng Hao of the Feng family, the mayor's family, has picked out to be his future wife, so when she comes home from her little ambush with a scratch on her pride, Hao does what boys like Hao do. He orders me hurt. Nothing fatal. There's an exam coming, and even the Feng family doesn't kill scholarship kids in exam season. It's untidy. Just a beating. Just enough. And somewhere above all of it, a middle-aged Feng man hears the plan, glances at a photo of a skinny boy in a filthy apron, and waves it off like swatting a fly. It's just a piece of trash. Let him live a little longer. That word, trash. Everybody in this city is so sure they know what I am. I'm starting to actually look forward to the corrections. The first correction is that they don't even get to throw the punch, because the pressure lands somewhere gentler and worse first. They lean on Zhao Hu. He calls me in, and he can't look at me while he does it. The news club is backed by real power, and that power has friends in the guild and friends in the prosecutor's office, and all those friends have quietly agreed that Yangxing's slaughterhouse would run more smoothly without a certain employee. He has to let me go. The big quiet man who handed me 2 million yuan and a reason to live has been forced to fire me over a 6-second video. And he's ashamed, and I won't let him be. I tell him it's fine. I tell him I was going to quit anyway. Both of those are now true, because standing in his office, I've just made a decision. I'm done grinding poultry 10 experience at a time. If everything alive is food, then the richest food in this world isn't in a slaughterhouse. It's outside the walls, in the wild, wearing fangs. I take my borrowed money, and I go buy a sword. The cheapest one in the shop, a bronze blade, 3,000 yuan, a beginner's toy that leaves me with under 500 to my name, and I leave the city on foot toward the northern suburbs, toward the tree line where the weak Yao beasts range and the martial artists mostly don't bother. Behind me, a crew of leg breakers on a certain thug's payroll sets up a nice little stakeout outside my apartment to wait for me to come home. I'm not coming home. I've got monsters to meet. The first one nearly kills me, and I want to be honest about that, because everything I become later is built on how bad I was at this on day 1. It's a tusked boar. Tier 1, level 5, roughly as strong as an apprentice at rank 7, which is a rung above me, and it comes out of the brush like a freight train with a grudge, and I panic. I fully panic. All my grinding, all my minor achievement swordsmanship, and the instant something the size of a car actually wants me dead, I forget every form I know and just dive out of the way. We charge each other twice, and both times the impact throws us apart, and both times I come out worse, ribs ringing, sword slippery in my hand, a small clear voice in the back of my head going, "You have died before, and you did not enjoy it." Yan old instructor's line surfaces from the body's memories. Stay calm. Use the ground, the trees, everything. Wait for one clean strike and make it the only one you need, so on the third charge I don't meet it head on. I step off the line at the last second, let those tusks go by my ribs close enough to feel the wind of them, and I drive 3,000 yuan of bronze straight up through the base of its skull. It goes down like the lights got switched off. I stand there shaking, absolutely certain for a second that I'm about to die of the fear alone. And then I get my breath back, and I look at what I've done, and I put a hand on the thing's steaming flank. "Brother Pig," I tell it, "may you be reborn into a good family." Then I let the art take it, and the whole enormous corpse dissolves into light and pours into me. 5,000 experience, 1 kill, leaving only the pelt behind on the flattened grass. It's only later, walking away rich, that I remember tusked boar fangs sell for a small fortune, and I absorbed both of them into oblivion, along with the rest of him. Rookie mistake. I'll learn. I've got a whole wilderness to practice on. The pelt turns out to be worth more than I am. I haul it into the city market, and a stall boss named Liu takes one look at it. Flawless, not a nick in it, because I killed the thing with one clean thrust instead of hacking it apart, and a small bidding war breaks out among the surrounding stalls before he shoos them off and pays me 10,000 yuan for it in cash. A whole intact tier 1 pelt is rare apparently. Nobody's patient enough to kill clean. Boss Liu tells me to open a bank account like an adult, and I take his 10,000 and spend all of it on the boring stuff that keeps me alive out there. Clotting powder, a few bottles of cheap fasting pills so I don't have to carry food, and I head home feeling, for about an hour, like a man with a plan. The plan has 4 men in it I didn't invite. They're already inside my apartment when I get back, and I hear them before I see them, so I stop in the stairwell and just listen. 4 leg breakers, the strongest of them, a rank 5 apprentice, sent by a local thug called Tiger, who apparently answers to Feng Hao, waiting in the dark to rob the butcher boy of his pelt money and rough him up for good measure. And here's the thing. I'm rank 6 now, with minor achievement swordsmanship, standing in a stairwell listening to 4 men plan to mug me, and the feeling I have is not fear, it's almost embarrassment. For them. I walk in. The leader opens his mouth to say something menacing, and I slap him across the room with the flat of my sheathed sword before the sentence lands. The other three do a little better. They get to be surprised, and then they're on the floor too, and the leader is wheezing my new favorite word, Brother Tiger's gonna, and I decide I don't need the end of that sentence. I let the art take them, and I have to tell you the truth about this one because it's the first time I do it to a person and not a pig. Northern Darkness. Divine art doesn't care what it eats. There's a pull and a light. And then there are 4 sets of warm clothes lying empty on my floor, and nothing else. And the room is very quiet, and my hands are steady, but the rest of me is not. I make it to the bathroom before I'm sick. Killing the boar felt like survival. This felt like something I'll have to decide every time to be able to live with. I decide I can. I also decide I'm going to be very careful about who I use it on, because a power that leaves no body is a power that, used wrong, makes a monster of the man holding it. 9,000 experience, then 5,000 more. I don't celebrate the numbers, not this time. The leader dropped his phone and it rings while I'm still catching my breath. Tiger. I don't answer, but I listen to the voicemail, and I can hear the exact moment the man's brain reboots. Because a mugging that goes silent means either his men got paid off or his men got erased. And he's smart enough to know which is more likely, and now he's replaying the whole thing and realizing the butcher boy pretended to be a pig so he could eat the tiger. He calls Feng Hao. The two of them, to their credit, make the only correct decision available to them. With the prosecutors watching the whole city before the exam, they will lie low and leave me completely alone until it's over. Good. I have a college to get into and a wilderness to eat. Somewhere in there I break through to rank 7, smooth as anything. And I dump the leftover experience into my swordsmanship until it hits major achievement, and the gray space swallows me again, and this time the familiar blurry man is a little clearer, close enough that I almost catch his face before the whole thing overloads my head and drops me into 12 hours of dreamless sleep. Later. He's a question for later. The list of those is getting long too. The bank, when I finally go open an account, gives me a small human day in the middle of all this. Li Mei's there with her little sister, Li Feng, a giggly menace who is secretly a rank 8 apprentice and dreams of being national champion. The account setup is a biometric ordeal, all 10 fingerprints and a pupil scan, and Li Feng narrates the whole way through, wondering aloud whether they'll need my toe prints too next, laughing when I mutter that someone's going to try to rob me for this money. She doesn't know someone's already tried, in my own apartment, and left as laundry. Li Feng is a whole personality in a small package, secretly a rank 8 apprentice, dead set on being national champion someday, completely unbothered that her own class 1 already has a pair of twins sitting at rank 9 who'll be in her way. She narrates my fingerprints, ranks the bank tellers by handsomeness, and treats the whole outing like a family day, which, sitting between a kind teacher and her ridiculous little sister, it accidentally is. It's the closest thing to an ordinary afternoon I've had in either life. I file it next to the sunset. Small warm things. I'm keeping a list of those too. Somebody will, kid. You have no idea. It cost me most of the 200 yuan in my pocket just in bank fees, and I walk out to the north gate nearly broke again, but grinning, because I've got a plan the fees can't touch. Go camp in Tuscan Boar country where the real martial artists don't bother to hunt, and grind in peace until the exam. Peace lasts until an old man drops out of a tree onto my grinding spot. I've been toying with the boars by then, genuinely toying, 2 at a time, major achievement forms making yesterday's terror look like a warm-up, when a voice above me says, "Little friend, this isn't a place for you," and there's a wiry old man perched on a branch like he grew there. He tests me a little, pokes at my confidence to see what's under it, and instead of the humility he's fishing for, he gets me telling him that a junk sword is only junk in a junk hand, that a real swordsman rules the world with whatever's in his grip. I think he was expecting a scared kid. He got a cocky one. And it turns out cocky is exactly what he came to see, because the old man laughs to himself about how soft the modern children have gotten, drops a slim manual in the grass at my feet, a sword drawing technique, a real one, and is gone off the treetops before I can do more than pocket it. I don't read it out in the open. Some lessons my first life's novels taught me for free. Never show the whole world your new toy. I read it in the tree line, and the gray space takes me again. And I watch 100 blurred figures draw and sheathe faster and faster until the motion burns itself into my hands, and I come out the other side with sword drawing at minor, then major, my footwork leveled up beside it, and my head so overloaded I sleep for 2 straight days on a boar hide bed. When I wake up, I kill 3 of the things before breakfast without standing all the way up. Somewhere in that stretch I catch myself thinking a genuinely dangerous thought, that within the whole martial apprentice realm, right now, I might be the strongest thing walking. It's the kind of thought that gets people killed. I make a note to keep it to myself. I fail almost immediately, because that's when I meet my class monitor, and I don't recognize her. Her name is Shui Qiuyi. She's the school beauty of class 5, and about 500 meters from my spot, she is spending 2 entire hours failing to kill one tusked boar, which finally keels over from exhaustion rather than from anything she did to it, while her older brother heckles her the whole time. Her team spots me first, a supposed rank 3 kid alone in boar country, and charitably decides I'm suicidal and moves to rescue me, right as I one-shot 2 boars with a sword draw. The rescue sort of curdles into staring, and Zueqiuyi says my name, clearly expecting me to know hers, and I squint at her and say, with total sincerity, that the wind's in my eyes and I can't quite place the face. I have sat behind this girl for a school term. The wind is not in my eyes, and it turns out her father is one of the school's vice principals, which is why she mopes at home afterward about the one boy in the woods who killed 2 boars with a flick and didn't so much as glance at her, a small funny fixation she'll carry for a while. The school beauty genuinely rattled that a supposed nobody looked straight through her. But experience points have never once improved by me remembering a classmate's name, and I've got priorities. I let them see rank 7, I let them assume I'm just a late bloomer who tests badly, had a cold on assessment day, only pushed 300 jin, and they buy it, because the real realm stones that would catch the lie are rare and expensive and not something you carry into the woods. Then I leave, and I absorb the 2 boars they watched me kill. And I think, not for the first time, that no face in this world is worth more than the number it's standing on top of. I get lost in the deep woods that night, which is the best thing that happens to me all week, because being lost is how I find the tree. It's ancient, 2 meters thick, 20 tall, and somebody long dead carved climbing grooves into the trunk and hollowed out a sleeping shelf near the top. An old cultivator's hideaway, abandoned so long the dust has its own dust. I lay a boar pelt over the tree bed, and I break through to martial apprentice rank 8 up there, under a sky so thick with stars, it doesn't look real. And when the rush settles, I do the thing I don't do out loud around other people. I talk to my parents, both sets. The 2 on Earth who held my hands on a rooftop, and the 2 in a photo frame in a cold apartment who never got the chance. Look, I tell the sky, I'm doing okay now. I'm really doing okay. No jokes. The stars don't need the bit. Then I lie back down, because morning's coming, and morning has monsters in it, and a boy who talks to the dead all night has no energy left to join them. Morning brings a war. Below my tree, a windwolf, a nastier thing, higher tier, kills a boar right at the roots, and I drop 10 meters straight down and put my sword through it while it's still chewing, plus 500 and change, thank you very much. And that one kill is apparently the dinner bell, because within the hour the whole hollow floods, a horde of boars using actual swarm tactics against a pack of wolves, and the 2 sides go at each other all night long while I sit back up my tree like a man at a very violent drive-in, watching the corpses stack up, doing the only sensible thing, which is waiting for both armies to exhaust themselves so I can absorb the leftovers for free. I even scuff out my own footprints before I climb. Novel reader instincts. A witness is the one thing my power can't outrun. The leftovers are a fortune. I'm crouched in the brush at dawn, quietly inhaling wolf and boar limbs, plus 400, plus 2,000, plus another 1,600 when the brush inhales me. It's the Fierce Tiger Mercenary Group. Scarface and his men, a notorious crew with a simple business model. They find people alone in the woods, and those people are never found again. 3 martial masters, a fistful of artists, and a hidden protector somewhere in the trees. And they've caught a skinny kid crouched over some scavenged meat, so they swagger in slow, savoring it. So I play the part they've cast me in. I go small. I go scared. I let my sword hand shake and my voice climb, and I watch Scarface relax into the easy kill, and the instant he's close enough I stop acting and draw. 1 stroke. Scarface drops and doesn't get up, and the confidence goes out of his whole crew at once like someone unplugged them. I go through the rest of them fast, but not before I make the leader's second gasp out directions to the nearest city, because I really am lost, and a man about to die is the most honest map you'll ever read. Then I take them into the brush, never in the open, always in the brush, and the art does its quiet work. 12,000, 7,000. Scarface alone was a martial warrior, 10,000 experience standing up. I walk out of those trees a good deal stronger than I walked in, and the lesson writes itself in my head in permanent marker. The people who hunt the weak have spent their whole lives never once meeting something pretending to be weak. I intend to be the correction to that entire business model. The payday, when I haul the knight's pelts back to Boss Liu, is 270,000 yuan. Tusked boar hides and a rare windwolf coat, tallied up while I wave off the itemized list. I trust Boss Liu, and more to the point, I've stopped being able to make myself care about the small numbers now that I count in the big ones. I spend it climbing. I close in on rank 9. I stock real pills instead of the fake fasting garbage I've been choking down. and I discover the going rate on my own body, which is that a starving orphan and a rank 9 apprentice are, it turns out, the same person with a different bank balance. What I don't see, because I'm busy getting rich in the woods, is the meeting happening back in the city about me. A big middle-aged man in the Feng family, Feng Hao's father, the muscle of the household, has just been told that the scholarship butcher he wrote off as trash has quietly climbed past rank 7 under everyone's nose, and he does not like surprises. He gives his butler an order, and the order is specific in a way that makes my skin crawl when I learn about it later. Don't kill him, break his arms, break his legs, and bring him to me. Why keep me alive and folded up in a sack? He doesn't say. That question goes on a different list, the one labeled things that are going to matter. The butler's name is Butler Lee, and Butler Lee, it turns out, is the hidden protector who was standing in the trees behind Scarface's crew, and also the man who picks up a phone and calls the Fierce Tiger Group's second-in-command, a man they call Eighth Brother, to arrange the job. Eighth Brother's people take one look at the photo and go pale because they recognize the kid in it. That's the one who killed Scarface. The mercenaries in the mayor's household are now pointed at the same target, quietly, patiently, waiting for the exam crackdown to lift, and the target is up a tree, learning that his sword is about to fall apart. I break rank 9 on schedule, out there among evolved green snakes 6 meters long that I name and kill in the same breath, and somewhere in the grind, I half hear a small sound from my bronze blade, a hairline crack, a whisper of 1A, and I dismiss it, because I'm rank 9 now and a little cocky and the sword's still cutting. It cuts through one more all-night beast war, 100 green snakes against a species of giant toad, both armies grinding themselves down while I mop up the survivors at dawn. And on the very last kill, mid-swing, the crack finishes what it started. Ping. The bronze sword breaks clean in my hand. 3,000 yuan, a whole apprenticeship, every clean stroke I ever learned, and it was only ever a beginner's toy, a mortal blade never meant to carry the weight I'd started putting behind it. I stand there holding a hilt and half a blade with something like 600,000 experience banked and a strange fondness for the dead thing in my hand. First swords are like that. You always break your first one. I just didn't expect to outgrow it before I even outgrew the wilderness. Boss Liu turns out to be more than a stall. He runs the Liu Ji Chamber of Commerce, a whole clothing house with stone lions out front, and when I bring him the wilderness haul, he cleans me up properly for the first time in this life. 2 sets of high-end fur armor at 50,000 each, the kind that shrugs off half of what a tier 2 beast can do to you. I ditch the rags I've been bleeding into for a month. It's a strange feeling wearing something that wasn't chosen by how little it cost. I could get used to it. I don't plan to. Comfortable men die in these woods. The sword is the real errand. I walk into a weapon shop with 600,000 experience and a broken hilt and a grudge against ever being underarmed again. And I buy a Long Quan sword, refined to 101 folds, a sharp weapon, a real step up from mortal junk, for 400,000 yen. And this is where the afternoon gets fun, because there's an audience. His name is Yang Wei, rank 5, one of Feng Hao's little toadies, and he swaggers into the shop while the clerk's still ringing me up and immediately starts performing. He mocks the penniless wretch pricing a blade he could never afford. He hits on the pretty clerk, a freshman named Zhang Yue, in the oily way of a boy who's never once been told no. And mostly he settles in to watch, with real anticipation, the moment the butcher boy has to admit he can't pay and slink out. So I pay 400,000 yuan in full, right in front of him, and I watch the anticipation curdle into something much better on his face. And because I've been called trash by his entire social circle for a month, and I've earned exactly one petty pleasure, I lean in on my way out and ask him, with real concern, whether he remembered to take his medication today. The special kind, for the special problem. You know the one. I drop my dead bronze sword in the shop's trash bin on the way past. They won't even recycle it. Some things you outgrow so completely there's nothing left to trade them in for. What I don't clock on my way out is the shop's owner, Old Wu, a man who used to be a martial spirit expert before an injury dropped him, watching me leave with a strange look and quietly telling Zhang Yue that the boy she just sold a sword to feels dangerous, that his hand on that hilt tripped an instinct Old Wu only gets facing real threats. She laughs it off. She's a martial warrior herself. What's a rank 7 apprentice to her? File that under foreshadowing, delivered by a professional. Back home, 600,000 experience burning a hole in my panel. I push to the peak of rank 9, and then I hit the wall between apprentice and everything above it, and the wall is not a number. It's a door. My awareness slides into a space full of light, and the light is spiritual chi, visible for the first time, the actual fuel of every real martial artist. And I realize with some alarm that I have no idea how to breathe it in. I have a legendary experience-eating cheat and zero technique for the one thing the cheat can't chew. So I improvise. I coax the nearest wisp of chi toward me like it's a stray cat. Come here, come on, baby. And I swear this works. It comes, and it drags its friends in behind it, and by morning, I've bullied enough spiritual chi into my body to breach the wall and stand up as a martial warrior, stage 1. My body celebrates the milestone by expelling every impurity a life of malnutrition ever packed into it, all at once, as a tide of black sludge and a smell that violates several treaties, which ruins my 50,000 yuan clothes and my new sofa in a single go. Worth it. Because the panel, when the stink clears, tells me something the whole memory bank agrees is impossible. Nobody reaches martial warrior in high school. The record for a student, ever, is rank 9 apprentice. I just walked past a century of history on a technique I named after a cartoon and a house cat. Then the panel adds a line that stops me cold. Martial warrior, stage 1, cannot be upgraded, because to climb from here, I need a genuine martial artist cultivation technique. And there are exactly 3 ways to get one. I sign onto a group contract, grind a year plus at the guild, or win the entrance exam and let a university hand me one for free, and I have none of them yet. My cheat has run me straight into the one door it can't kick down, and after the initial sting, I decide the locked door is a gift. Think about it. A starving orphan scholarship kid who suddenly manifests as a full martial artist is a headline, an investigation, a dozen powerful families asking the exact question I cannot afford anyone asking. Capped at martial warrior, I'm just an outrageous prodigy instead of an outright impossibility. I'll take outrageous. Outrageous, I can survive. So I pour everything into the one place I still can, my sword skills. And that's where the ghost finally shows me his face. I push basic swordsmanship to perfection, the top the system will name, and the gray space pulls me in one last time, and all those blurry figures I've been half seeing for a month, the hundreds of them, the familiar one at the front, they fold together, all at once, into a single man holding a sword, and the man is me. It was always me. Every session in that space was my own understanding, run ahead of my hands, waiting for the rest of me to catch up. I come out of it and grip the long quan, and the full weight of the blade just arrives, all its data at once, the balance and the reach and the intent of it, like the sword has always been my own hand and I'm only now remembering. The panel reads, basic swordsmanship, perfection, with no bar above it, no next rank, just done, except it doesn't feel done. It feels like a landing, not a summit. Like there's a whole staircase above the word max that the system, for reasons it isn't sharing, refuses to draw for me. I don't get to chase that thought because 10 days vanish into cultivation and then my phone lights up with Li Mei's name and a fact I have genuinely, completely forgotten. The exam is Monday. Theory at 8, realm assessment at 11. And this year, it's a spectacle. It's the 500th anniversary of the martial era, and the heads of 100 martial universities, Shanghai and Beijing and Jiangnan and First Military, are all coming to Honghai to watch this particular batch of kids get tested. Li Mei frets to her colleagues about her poor doomed scholarship boy and his future, not knowing the boy in question is the reason 100 deans are about to have a very interesting morning. I've got 5 days before I have to be a student again, so I spend them the way I spend everything, hunting. And the woods pay out. 11 peak windwolves in one stretch, which for a fresh martial warrior is barely a workout, and then a real find. 11 redleaf grass plants hidden under a camouflage of dead weeds, a key pill herb worth 200,000 yuan each. I absorb the whole patch, 110,000 experience, 10,000 a plant, which is when it really lands how much this world has been ripping me off. Because a pack of that forging body powder Li Mei bought me only gave 500, and it's made from the leftover residue of grass like this. The powder was the crumbs. I've been eating the whole loaf. I don't know yet that a thug named Tiger planted that patch 2 months ago and is on his way to harvest it and is about to find 11 fresh holes and swear revenge on whoever robbed him. I also don't know he's the same Tiger whose men I turned into laundry. The woods are a small town. Everybody's connected. I just haven't drawn the map yet. What pulls me off the trail is the sound of 3 beasts fighting up ahead, and I go toward it because to me the sound of monsters killing each other is the sound of free money. What I find is a masterclass. 3 tier 2 beasts circling a hidden cave mouth, a gale sparrow that throws blades of wind off its wings, a twin blade mantis with sword arms that carve those wind blades in half out of the air, and a king cobra that spits venom that eats a basketball-sized hole clean through a tree trunk. I get comfortable in the brush and watch them choreograph each other to death, the mantis parrying, the cobra swallowing the mantis whole, the mantis punching its sword arms up through the cobra's skull from the inside, until all 3 are down and the only thing left standing is the guy who watched. 220,000 experience for the price of a matinee ticket and some patience. The mantis doesn't even leave a sellable pelt, the cheapskate. That leaves the cave they died over, and I want to tell you it holds a hidden master's tomb, because that's what my novel brain is screaming, but it holds nothing. Bare walls. I hack at them like an idiot and find dirt, and then a single drop of some mystery liquid falls from the ceiling and lands on my lips. And I taste it, because apparently I learned nothing from dying of cancer, and it nearly kills me a second time. Hot then cold, a full-body convulsion, the specific certainty that I am checking out early. I only survive by clawing the beast pelts off me, and I lie on the cave floor afterward, making myself a new rule, carved deep: never, ever eat things of unknown origin. The panel's verdict on the near-death experience? Plus 5,000. Wait, plus 5,000. The drop that almost killed me is worth 5,000 experience if I swallow it. 6,000 if I let the art absorb it clean. Suddenly the bare, disappointing cave is the most interesting room I've ever stood in, and I follow the drip up toward its source with a pill bottle and a lot of enthusiasm, right as two crews come through the cave mouth behind me at once. Both of them are here for me. Tiger's people, an Eighth Brothers fierce tiger crew, and the funny part, the part that finally draws the map, is that they know each other because they both work for the same man, Butler Lee. They corner me in the dark and get comfortable, the way Scarface got comfortable, and I let them, and then I stop being a rank 7 apprentice for them and become the martial warrior I actually am. Tiger goes flying, his men go down, and when it's over I do the thing I always do, which is get the truth out before the end, and the truth pours out of them and completes the picture I've been assembling for a month. Butler Lee is the Feng family's butler. The head of the Feng family is Feng Jiansheng, the mayor of Honghai City, and the order to break my arms and legs came from his son, Feng Hao, over a girl and a 6-second video, Feng Jiansheng. That's the second time that name has been said to my face by a dying man. The first was Zhao Hu telling me who murdered my parents. Now it's Tiger telling me who runs the leash on every crew that's hunted me since. The mayor sits at the top of both, the man who killed the two people in the photo frame, and the man whose household has been trying to fold me into a sack. I give Tiger a clean, quick end when it's done, more mercy than his bosses would spend on me, and he takes it almost grateful. And I make myself put the revenge back in its box, because the mayor is a great martial master, oceans above a martial warrior, and a gentleman takes his revenge cold, even if it takes 10 years, especially then. Then I climb toward the drip, and the cave finally gives me the tomb my novel brain ordered. There's a hidden upper chamber, and in it, glowing a soft milky white, is a stone. I put my hand on it and let the art draw, and the number that scrolls up my vision has so many zeros I read it twice to make sure I'm not hallucinating from the cave air. Plus 9 million experience from one rock. I absorb the pooled drip on top of it, another 6,000 a second, and my total crosses 10 million. And the instant it does, a chime rings through my skull that I've never heard before, and the whole world goes black. I wake up 5 days later. 5. And in those 5 days, the panel does something it has never done, something I didn't know it could do. It binds, truly binds. And it explains, in that flat golden font, exactly what almost happened to me, because there were 123,321 hosts before me, and every single one of them died at this exact step at 10 million experience when the true binding fires and the soul either holds or shatters. I'm the 123,322nd, and I'm the first one to survive it, the first true host it's ever had, which means the panel doesn't ride the body anymore, it rides my soul now, through this life and every death and rebirth after it, forever. The nagging fear I've carried since the day it appeared, the one that whispers, what if it just vanishes? What if I wake up and it's gone and I'm nothing again? That fear finally goes quiet. This isn't a gift that can be taken back. It's mine down to the soul, and it hands me a housewarming present on top. Remote absorption. I can eat things now from about a meter away, no touch required. Only dead things and objects for now. The living still make me get my hands dirty, but it's a start. 17 million experience, a soul-deep cheat, and a new rule to go with the old one. The old rule was, don't eat things of unknown origin. The new rule is, unless it's a glowing rock. Glowing rocks, apparently, are the exception that pays for everything. I plug the Milky Stone's chamber with a fitted rock on my way out because the thing regenerates its drip, and I am not the kind of man who leaves a renewable fortune lying open. Then I haul the King Cobra and Gale Sparrow hides back to Boss Lou, and it turns out those two rare Tier 2 skins are exactly what he owes on a commission to the Guangyi Group, with a breach penalty breathing down his neck. So he pays me 1 million for the pair and 300,000 for the rest. 1.3 million yuan, and I wave off the itemized list again, and I walk out into the sunlight of a city I forgot has a schedule. Because two parents outside Lou's shop are talking about their kid's big day, and the big day is today, June 19th. The Marshall College entrance exam starts at 8:30. It is currently a little before 8, and I am across town, and I have spent the calendar I was supposed to be counting inside a rock, unconscious. I run, full martial warrior speed, rooftops and alleys, and I still don't make it in time, because the last 100 meters have a wall in them, and the wall is made of people who hate me. They're the former presidents of that news club, Zhou Tian, Zhao Qiang, Feng Ming, the ones who graduated up to the Beijing and Shanghai martial universities, back home now, working the exam day gate as guards, and delighted beyond words to find the butcher boy sprinting up late and out of breath. So they stall. They demand an ID check they know takes forever, squinting at my card like it's a forgery. They make me stand there while the seconds bleed, and then, smiling, they float the offer. That's the whole reason they're doing this. Kowtow, right here, on the ground, and maybe we'll wave you through. One decent kid among them, Zhou Qing, keeps trying to just let me in and keeps getting body blocked by the others, apologizing with his eyes. And the clock runs, and I do the math on how satisfying it would be to draw and how expensive it would be to draw, and while I'm holding myself still, the bell rings and I miss the theory exam. 100 points. Gone. Petty revenge for a 6-second video, paid in the one currency they thought they could still take from me. I get close to drawing on them. Closer than I've been with anyone who wasn't a monster. Li Mei comes flying across the yard to stop it and gets there just after the bell, too late for the exam and just in time for the damage. And I watch the kind teacher's face go from worry to something colder because it turns out Li Mei is not just a homeroom teacher at a nowhere high school. She's the personal disciple of the Dean of Academic Affairs, and she is going to report every second of this, and the boys' smiles finally start to slip. The exam math is simple and brutal. Theory 100, realm 90, martial skill 70, and I need 140 of the 260 to pass it all, and I just watched 100 of it get stolen at the gate. Down 100 before I've thrown a punch. Fine, I've been down worse. I'll make the rest of it count. The realm assessment is held under a very high platform, and on the platform sit the people this whole spectacle is really for. There's Principal He of the 1st Military Academy, a huge blunt slab of a man, a great martial master, who openly despises the pampered Shanghai and Beijing schools, whose graduates only win the big tournament because frontier kids soften the beasts up first, and who is so unimpressed by a mouthy Beijing instructor that he slaps the man clean off the platform mid-sentence. There's Director Kai from the Education Bureau in his neat robes. And there's a dean's son from Jiangnan University, and I do a small double take because I know that face. That's the wiry old man who dropped out of a tree in Boer country and left a sword drawing manual at my feet, the hidden master, sitting up there on the platform like he didn't personally hand me half my sword arm. Small world, getting smaller by the hour. Word of the gate block reaches them, and it does not improve Principal. He's opinion of the elite schools. He offers me special recruitment to 1st Military on the spot, serve 3 years, maybe cut to 1, and I turn a great martial master down flat, politely, because I have a panel that rides my soul, and I do not need a scholarship. Then a realm stone gets pulled out for my test, pulled, casually, out of a storage ring, an actual spatial ring, and I completely lose the thread of the moment because I want one so badly I can taste it. The realm stone is where it all comes apart in the best possible way. I'm supposed to strike it and let it read my rank, except my uncontrolled martial warrior true ki doesn't get read. It eats the test energy, plus 10 experience per swing, and the stone just reports garbage. They think it's broken. The principal tests it himself and it says, I'm a rank 5 apprentice. And then Dean's son and Principal He and Director Kai, 3 of the strongest people in the province, quietly reach out with their divine sense to take my measure directly, and the platform goes very, very still. Martial Warrior, Stage 1, a high schooler. The last student to do it did it something like a century ago. And he only reached rank 9 apprentice, and here's a scholarship butcher who went from rank 7 to Martial Warrior in about 20 days, and the platform stops being an exam and turns into an auction. Hefeng University, free tuition and 1,000 credits. Tianshan, $1 million a month. Qingjiang, matching, then raising. 3 deans bidding against each other over the trash Honghai wrote off, while Director Kai hisses at all of them to keep it quiet until the exam's actually over. The principal sends me home early. A martial warrior outscores any martial skill test they could give me, so why bother? And I walk out of my own entrance exam 100 points down on paper and the single most valuable person in the building, in fact. I take Li Mei to lunch to celebrate, and by lunch I mean Wei's little shop, because some habits are load-bearing. I need a cover story for how a starving orphan became a martial warrior overnight, so I tell her the tidy version, rank 5 peak plus a lucky heaven and earth treasure, and I show her the stalactite fluid to sell it. And then I just give her a full bottle of the stuff, 600,000 yuan of it, because I have 17 million experience banked and can afford to be a person who gives things to the people on the list. She tries to refuse, she takes it, and over cheap buns, she lets a couple of truths slip that reframe her entirely. She's a junior at the Imperial Capital Martial Arts University, the #1 school in the country, teaching high school on a leave year, and the tired 30-something look I've known her by is makeup. She's young, barely older than me. She lays out the whole map of this world for me. 123 martial universities, a mortality gradient from 5% in the safe cities to 30 at the frontier academies. Better schools meaning better pills and better mentors and better odds of living to graduate. I'm still chewing on that map when there's a knock at my apartment door, and it's a Principal Yan, vice principal of the imperial capital MU itself, come in person to recruit the boy who broke a realm stone by being hungry. The recruitment turns my sad little apartment into a bidding floor, which is a genuinely surreal thing to happen in a room where I recently starved. Principal Yan of Imperial Capital goes first, the vice principal of the #1 school in the country, standing in my threadbare doorway, apologizing for a gate mess his own graduates caused, pressing a purifying chi pill into my hand as a peace offering, and laying out a top-tier technique and 1,000 credits and a master who's nearly a martial spirit. I keep a straight face and a running tally. A month ago, the biggest number in my life was a slaughterhouse day wage. Now the #1 university in the nation is opening the bidding, and it isn't even the highest bid I'll hear tonight. Magic Capital's man matches it with his nose in the air. Principal He of First Military barges the number up to 1,500 credits and any tutor I want. And then Dean's son of Jiangnan, my tree-dropping old man, matches all of it and then slides one more thing across the table. A storage ring. That's the whole negotiation. That's it. 3 of the strongest schools in the country throwing millions and mentors at me, and the wiry old man who already gave me a sword wins the entire auction with the exact spatial ring I've been drooling over since the platform because he clocked me drooling. I pick Jiangnan. I bloodbind the ring, 2 cubic meters of my very own pocket dimension, which I immediately fill with an application form and an admission letter and the deep contentment of a poor kid who finally owns something that folds space. And then I get greedy and cheeky and try to trade the sword drawing manual back to Sun for a lightness skill. And I demo my major achievement sword draw to sweeten it. 20 days that took me. Sun's jaw does something complicated. He's so rattled and so delighted that he hands me a lightness manual and only realizes afterward he grabbed the wrong one, a high-grade yellow-level art called Treading Snow Without a Trace, far better than what he meant to give, and he's too proud to ask for it back. I learn it to perfection that night, 2 to 10 times my running speed, walking on snow without leaving a print. Best clerical error anyone's ever made in my favor. Somewhere across the city, in a much nicer room, the mayor makes a much worse deal, because Feng Jiansheng, the man who killed my parents, the man whose son put a bounty on my limbs, has heard that the scholarship trash reached Martial Warrior, just like my parents did, and it rattles him down to the bone. So when a mysterious outside faction slides an offer across his table, he takes it. 4 spirit pills, enough to break him and his steward and his 2 enforcers straight into the martial spirit realm, a rank above anything in this city, plus the promise of a martial king pill and even a limb regeneration pill down the line, and all he has to give them in exchange is the city, positions, access, Honghai itself, handed to a power whose name he doesn't even know, so that a frightened man can buy the strength to stop being frightened. He doesn't know it yet, but the mayor just started selling the thing I'm going to come back and take from him. I file that away for later. Later's going to be busy. There's a kinder ripple too, and it matters, so I'll give it a line. Moved by the story of the starving butcher who broke a realm stone, the Honghai #7 principal and director Kai quietly resolved to start funding the poor senior kids, extra body powder, extra healing pills, and Kai let slip that my example might finally push a national poverty relief program for cultivators through. Somewhere behind me, without my asking, the ladder I climbed is getting a couple of rungs bolted back on for the next kid. Good. Somebody should. Then I spend 2 days emptying my accounts, because money is about to become the least useful thing I own. At university, it's all credits. And I go say the goodbye I've been not thinking about. Zhao Hu offers me more work, more pay, anything to keep me close and safe. He's spent 19 years being unable to protect the people he loved, and here's one more he's about to lose to the road, and I can see him casting around for any reason to make me stay. And I turn it all down, and I bow to him. Deep, the way you bow to family and not to a boss. And when I've gone, I only know this because I circle back and stand outside and hear it through the door. The big quiet man sits alone in his slaughterhouse office and cries. Not quietly. The kind of crying a man only does when he's certain he's alone. So much like you, he says to nobody, to 2 people 19 years dead. Brother, sister-in-law, your son is here. He's the last person alive who loved the 2 in the photo frame. He's carried their memory by himself for 2 decades, and now he's carrying mine on top of it, and he does it without ever once asking me for anything back. Put him at the top of the list. He's been at the top of the list this whole time. The night before the train, I do one more thing, and I don't fully understand why I do it until much later. There's a boy kneeling in a park in the dark, a sallow, talentless kid who can't even reach the beginner rank of basic swordsmanship, no matter how he grinds, crying because the world has already told him what it told me twice. That he's nothing, that he should stop. And I know that kneel. I've done that kneel. I did it as an orphan in this life, and I did it in a wheelchair in the last one. So I stop. From under a street lamp, I tell him the only true thing I know. Drop the sword, try a saber, try a spear, find the shape that fits your hand, and understand that the worst talent that never quits beats the best talent that does, every single time. It's not even close. Then I drop my whole bag at his feet, 10 packs of body powder, a fistful of pills, more than he's ever held, and I do something theatrical to cover how much I mean it. I rise up off the ground on treading snow and tell him I mean to ride the wind and slay demons across the land, and I leave him there staring up with the tears drying on his face and a wooden sword back in his hand. I thought I was just being kind to a stranger. I had no idea I'd just planted something. That kid is going to grow into a very interesting problem, but that's a story for a good deal further down the line. I take one last look at the photo frame. I'll come back to see you, I tell them, and I mean it as a promise and a threat depending on who's listening, and then a Jiangnan teacher collects me for the trip. No luggage. I own a pocket dimension now. My luggage is a thought. The recruits ride out in a van, 7 of us, and it's a nice cross-section of what I'm walking into. There's Feng Tianyu, a chubby, friendly rank 8 kid who navigates every social situation with snacks and immediately decides we're friends. There's a girl named Zhang Shui who apparently was my class monitor for 2 whole years at Honghai number 7 and recognizes me instantly. And I look at her with the warm blank expression of a man meeting a very convincing stranger because I have absolutely no memory of her because the boy whose body this is never looked up from his grinding long enough to notice a school beauty existed. The rest are ranks 7 and 8 and openly sniffy about the scholarship kid in the van with them. And there's one face I do know, Zhou Qing, the decent boy from the gate who kept trying to wave me through, now a first military sophomore. We take the 10-hour train to Jiangnan City because there's no high-speed rail anymore. The beasts wrecked the tracks a long time ago, and nobody's been able to keep them fixed. The deans seat me front row. VIP recruit. The sniffy kids notice. I enjoy that a normal amount. The train ride comes with a pop quiz, administered by Monster. About halfway, a massive swarm of flying beasts hits the train, and up in the mentor's car, the deans are watching us on screens and grading. 50 credits for keeping your nerve, 100 for a kill. Then principal he gets bored of watching and flies out personally, and I watch a great martial master raise one hand and vaporize 70% of the swarm with a single heaven-shattering palm, and my heart physically breaks because that was tens of millions of experience turned into red mist that I will never, ever get to eat. Grieve with me, that was my inheritance, and he sneezed it away. And then, because the man is thorough, he deliberately flicks a handful of surviving level 1 sparrows into the recruits' cars as a live assessment, the mentors quietly selling out their students' trust for a grade I, and my car erupts into screaming. I one-shot the sparrows, all of them. It's a few level 1 Yao beasts. I've killed things that ate things like this for breakfast. Teacher Zhao praises my speed and docks 100 credits off everyone who panicked, which is everyone but me, and up in the mentor's car principal. He groans that he should have bid higher. You knew, old son, you knew, while Dean's son says nothing and looks very pleased with his storage ring investment. Then the exam results post to everyone's phones, and here is the beautiful arithmetic of my situation. The national champion, a girl named Liu Miaoyin, scored 259, a record, and me, 100 points flat. My whole theory section stolen at the gate, my realm test eaten by my own chi, nothing to show on paper for a martial warrior who broke the stone. Rank 123,456th in the country. Nobody notices me at all. Which is, and I cannot stress this enough, exactly how I want it. A poor kid who tests at rank 123,456th is a rounding error. A poor kid who's secretly a record-breaking martial warrior is a target for every powerful family in the country. Let the number be the number. The number is camouflage, and camouflage is worth more than any score. Far away, in a walled compound in Jianggu City, a family I've never heard of is about to become my problem, though it'll take a while to arrive. Yon old patriarch, his wife, their 2 grown sons, a clutch of talented grandchildren, all heading off to Magic Capital University with the best of everything, a powerful martial house. And over their proud family dinner, the grandmother says something quiet and sad, that if a certain Xiang were still here, his children would be about the age of these grandkids. A dead son. A gap in the family where somebody used to be. I don't know these people. I don't know that the shape of the missing man matches a shape in my own borrowed memories. That recognition is a long way off, and it's going to hurt more than any beast when it lands. For now, they're strangers grieving a stranger, and I'm on a train not looking up. The one person on that train who won't stop looking at me is Zhang Shui, who spends the back half of the ride working up the nerve to recruit me onto her team, tosses her hair, walks over, and I look at my own 2-year class monitor and, with total sincerity, apologize that a Yao beast must have startled the memory clean out of my head because I can't quite place her. She has watched me not even flinch at those sparrows. The excuse is transparent garbage and we both know it. But experience points, as I believe I've mentioned, have never once improved by me remembering a classmate's name. The gag writes itself. I just keep letting it. Jiangnan City is a strange place, a whole city of single-story wooden buildings, a special zone built to be cheap to rebuild every time a beast knocks part of it down. And the first person I meet there is a full-time clown. His name is Zhou Jian. He's the incoming president of the Jiangnan Martial Arts Society, a martial artist rank 7 with the theatrical instincts of a man who's never once had a normal feeling in private. And I meet him mid-performance, staging a fake heartbroken lover breakdown at a departing van for an audience of nobody. The teacher ropes and gags him. I get to carry him. He becomes, against my will and better judgment, the closest thing I have to a friend at this school, a loyal, ridiculous, comic relief ally whose gut, annoyingly, keeps pinging that the poor freshman he's adopted is somehow the most dangerous thing on campus. He explains the place while I ignore most of it. Students form 5-person squads. I refuse instantly because squads split loot and a shared kill is a kill my art can't fully eat. And I have decided to be a lone wolf for reasons I obviously can't explain to him. Dorms are assigned by ability, and this is the fun part. Dorms can be challenged and robbed, openly. The academy encourages it, no killing allowed. And the school gate has a great entrance stone carved with Dean Sun's own calligraphy, said to hold some kind of martial power that no student in living memory has ever actually felt. I feel something off it as I walk past. I say nothing. I draw yellow dorm number 1, top freshman housing, and I go to move in, and of course there's a welcoming committee. They want to test the new number 1, which mostly means a few of them want a friendly spar, and one of them wants to rob me. The one is a blonde Q family bully named Q-san, who doesn't ask for a spar, he demands my key, and backs the demand with a rank 9 major achievement sword strike aimed at my head. I catch it on 2 fingers. Not the flat, not the guard. 2 fingers, on the edge, and I hold it there just long enough for the whole crowd to understand what they're looking at, and then I flick, and Kusan goes sprawling across the yard. The reed ripples out through the onlookers in real time. That's not a freshman's block, that's martial artist strength, that's top 100 among the sophomores' strength on a kid who tested in yesterday. I offer generously to sell them yellow dorm number 1 for 1,000 credits. Nobody dares touch it now. And Zhou Jian stares at me with the specific dawning horror of a man realizing his new little brother is a monster, and mutters, mostly to himself, that this freshman is already a martial artist. Keep guessing, Jian, you're not even warm. The dorm comes with the usual newbie perks, a pill, 100 credits, gravity chamber hours, a logistics discount, and I test the fancy purification pill Imperial Capital gave me out of curiosity, and it does absolutely nothing, because my true key is already flawless, already impurity-free, another quiet little tell that I file away with all the others. The perks also include hours in a gravity chamber, a room you can crank up to 50 times normal weight to temper your body the slow, honest, screaming way. And I look at it exactly once and never go back, because paying credits to get heavier in a box is a mug's game when there's a whole wilderness outside where getting stronger also pays me in corpses. Body refining in a rented room is for people who don't have a stomach that eats the world, but none of that is what I'm actually here for. What I'm here for is that gate stone and the something I felt coming off it. I slip out at 9 at night to probe it quietly. Zhoujin tries to tail me and physically cannot keep up, treading snow at perfection versus a man jogging, and at the stone, the second I really reach out toward Dean Sun's calligraphy, it reaches back. It takes me somewhere, a vision, a trial, hidden in the brushstrokes of the old man's writing, a giant sword, vast as a building, and it slashes down through me and tears me open and does it again and again, over and over in a space with no exit, pure agony with a shape to it. And here's the thing about pain that has a shape. If you can stop screaming long enough to read it, it's a lesson. Somewhere in the 20th time that mountain of a sword cuts me in half, I stop flinching from it and start understanding it, and the agony tips over into something clean and bright and enormous. When I come back to my own body at the gate, a razor edge of aura flashes off me on instinct and turns the fallen leaves at my feet to dust before they hit the ground. That's sword intent. Real sword intent. The thing above perfection, the thing the system refused to draw a bar for, the staircase past max that I felt on the platform and couldn't find. Dean Sun didn't just give me a manual in the woods. He left a whole inheritance carved into the front gate of his own school, waiting for a student sharp enough to bleed on it. And I just became the first one in living memory to feel the stone at all. I sit there in the dark with leaf dust on my knees, and my perception has cracked wide open. I can see the veins in a leaf from across the yard now, and when I try to step back into the stone, it won't let me in again. One taste, that's all it had for me tonight. And a new line has appeared on my panel, a whole new category I've never had before, sitting there quiet and huge next to my realm and my skills. Concept, sword intent. The system has finally admitted there's a mountain above the last mountain, and it's just handed me my first foothold. 6 hours passed at that stone, and it felt like 6 minutes. Best 6 minutes of my education so far. And I haven't even enrolled yet. I nearly miss enrollment, actually, because the trial drains my mind so hard I oversleep the 2-minute window I bragged I could make, and I stumble into orientation late, next to Jojian, which somehow spawns an instant campus-wide rumor about the two of us that the mentors have to spend real energy denying to Jojian's endless flustered mortification. Behind the comedy, the grown-ups are paying attention. Vice Principal Bai Xinyuan, a martial emperor, the kind of person who does not get impressed easily, clocks my treading snow in flight, panics that a logistics secret has leaked, learns Sun gave it to me himself, and is then quietly stunned to find I've already pushed it to major achievement in a matter of days. He and Sun confirm what they're looking at, and the phrase they land on is once in a millennium, and both of them start thinking about the same thing at once. The 100-school tournament, and whether Jiangnan, perpetual underdog, sender of kids to die at the frontier, might finally have someone who can win it. Bai even flies me off in front of everyone to confirm my level, which is mortifying. And then, when he tells me anything's negotiable, I haggle him out of my starter weapon allotment and into a treasure artifact sword refined to 508 folds, a real step up. And somewhere in the background, Dean's son looks at an old photograph of himself standing next to a woman he calls Alian, someone long gone, and murmurs that maybe this boy can finish what she couldn't. Everybody at this school, I'm starting to notice, is carrying a dead person and a wish. I fit right in. I brought 2. The library is where I go shopping with credits instead of money, and I come out with 3 things that matter. A key technique called the Mystic Heaven skill that expands my true ki, a sword art, Breeze Willow, and best of all, a stealth art that hides my realm from anyone whose divine sense isn't stronger than mine, which means for the first time I can walk around at my true level without a single powerful person on campus knowing what I actually am. Concealment. The thing I've needed since I broke a realm stone by being hungry. I learn all 3 fast. I name my new 508-fold treasure artifact the Clear Wind Sword because it felt cold and then warm in my hand like something alive, and I retire the Longquan to the ring. Jojian keeps trying to recruit me into the martial arts society, and I keep telling him the society is playing house. Real power comes from cultivation, not from meetings and matching jackets, which offends approximately everyone in the society, and happens to be completely true. I make an enemy or 2 saying it out loud. Worth it. Then I spend 10 million experience in one sitting and buy my way up the staircase past max. Sword Intent, level 1, and the moment it lands, every sword within 1,000 meters shivers in its sheath, and the gate stone across campus flickers like it felt a cousin wake up. My basic swordsmanship and my sword draw, both already at perfection, leap past it into a tier the system calls subtlety. The entering the microscopic realm, a whole rank that only unlocks once you have intent to pour into it, and I finally understand why the Longquan shattered back in the wilderness. It wasn't a crack, it was capacity. My intent was already too heavy for a cheap blade to carry. The sword broke because I was outgrowing the very concept of a beginner's weapon. I pushed the stealth art to perfection too, hides my realm and my ki both now, invisible to anything short of a very strong divine sense, and my realm settles at martial artist, level 5. All of it hidden under a stealth skill, wrapped in a rank 123,456 test score. I am, on paper, a nobody. Underneath the paper, I'm getting genuinely frightening, and nobody at this school can see it but me. I need missions to keep the machine fed, and missions need a squad rank, and squads need more than one person, except I'm a lone wolf. So I do the obvious thing and register a squad of exactly 1. I name it Konoha, the Mu Ye Squad, and I give it a mission statement I lift wholesale from a cartoon in my past life, something about the old flame protecting the young, the will of fire passed down, as a total joke, purely because it sounds cool. The deans do not take it as a joke. These are people a century old who have watched the human race shrink for 500 years. And they read my ripped-off ninja slogan as a profound statement of purpose. The elders shielding the children, the fire of humanity carried forward. Grown great masters get misty over my cartoon quote. I do not correct them. When they ask me to demonstrate my strength for the rank up, I throw a sword draw that reads as Martial Master 3 in Raw Power, Subtlety Realm, and the logistics officer catches it on 2 fingers and promotes me on the spot. My one-man cartoon squad is now officially rank 2 and licensed for real work, and I commit to the bit completely. I sign my mission receipts Konoha, and when I'm feeling especially unserious, Akatsuki, the villain organization from the same cartoon, and later, when I actually start thinking about squad uniforms, I go browse Boss Liu's growing clothing empire and seriously consider a set of black robes with red clouds on them, because if you're going to name your squad after a ninja show, you dress like the show. The best part, the part that never stops paying out, is that the century-old deans keep receiving my anime references as deep philosophical statements about the flame of humanity passed between generations. Grown martial emperors nod gravely at my cartoon slogans. I never correct a single one of them. It is the funniest running joke of my whole college career, and I am the only living person in on it. And my first real work turns out to belong to a good man, which complicates everything. The Wolfpack commission I pick up was posted by the village chief of a place called Danan, a man named Feng Jie, a Jiangnan alumnus, a martial warrior stuck at rank 9 because of some old ordeal that cost him his cultivation. His assistant is a woman named Zhao Feng, a great martial master who takes one look at the scrawny freshman riding along on their mission and decides to adopt me as her little brother. I hitch a ride to the village, and the ride is a whole comedy routine about titles. Feng Jie is a martial warrior 9 held back by some old ordeal. And he insists he's still young, so calling him Uncle G earns me a wounded look, and Brother G earns me a grin. His assistant Zhao Fang is a great martial master, older and stronger than the chief by a mile, and I call her Sister Li without a flicker, because I decided long ago that women are, diplomatically, forever 18, while every man over 30 is an uncle. Zhao Fang laughs so hard at the double standard that she adopts me as her little brother on the spot. It's warm. It's the kind of warm that, in my experience, exists in a story right before the story takes something away from you. I don't say that out loud either. Some things you don't jinx. We're too late to the village by minutes, and minutes are the whole story. The wolf pack has already hit Danan again by the time we come racing back, and the villagers have done the thing villagers do when there's no one coming. Martial artist rank farmers, men who till fields and fix roofs, not warriors, form a line with their bodies and their farm tools to buy time for the old people and the children to reach the cellars. The kids don't all run. A couple of them stand at the back of the line with sticks, jaws set, and one of the elders barks at them to get down, tells them they'll get their turn to be heroes in 18 years, tells them tonight their only job is to live. They hold because home is behind them. That's the whole physics of it. A farmer with a hoe has no business standing in front of a level 2 wolf pack. And he does it anyway, because his kid is in the cellar under his feet, and there is no version of the math where he steps aside. Feng Ji drives us back toward them at a dead sprint, and I can see the line from a distance, thinning, bowing inward, not breaking. And one of them, an older man they call Uncle Feng, Feng Ming, the village chief's own son, father of a little boy named Liang He, takes a wolf's fangs through his leg and keeps standing on the ruin of it. And when the one-eyed alpha breaks the line, Feng Ming throws his 2 nearest comrades bodily out of the way to safety. And then he turns and charges the whole pack alone, one leg gone, a single mad sword slash that kills 3 of them and stops the rest cold. He's still on his feet when I get there. That's the part I can't shake. I come in like a thunderclap. I wound the Wolf King and scatter the pack in seconds. And I turn to the man I came to save, and he's already gone. Dead, standing up, propped on his own sword, because his body finished the job before it let itself fall. I ask the only question that's in me. Am I late? Nobody answers, because the answer is yes, and everybody there already knows it. The village buries him over 7 days of quiet rites, and I watch a white-haired chief lower his own son into the ground, and I don't make a single joke because there is nothing in me that wants to. This is the mask-off kind of quiet. The kind where the feeling lives in the faces and not in one clever word. I go after the pack alone after that, partly for the mission, mostly because I need to hit something, and wolves are on the menu. And out in that forest I find 5 women running for their lives. They're the heroines, a famous 5-sister team from Jingnan, spear and hammer and blade, led by an eldest sister named Sun Anying, and they're being chased by 2 level 3 Gale Sparrows and a black-robed cultist, their own eldest having stayed behind to hold him off. I put both level 3 birds down before they finish turning toward me, sword draw and sword intent, 25,000 experience each, and the black-robed man flinches like he's been slapped, because when his beasts die, the contract that bound them recoils on him, and he flees, promising to warn the others. All 5 sisters turn out to be wearing storage rings, which prompts my most sincere thought of the afternoon. Holy crap, they're all rich. They try to reward me, and I money haggle them down to a single low-grade cultivation technique, alumni discount, and I sign the receipt as Konoha. Then I race back to save the eldest sister, Sun Anying herself, captain of the second most famous group at the whole university, clear the horde around her, and take, as thanks, a manual her team looted from a dead city that not one of them has ever been able to cultivate. Foreshadowing, gift-wrapped. And when everyone's gone, I absorb the entire forest of corpses, birds included, and level 3 beasts, it turns out, pay 100,000 experience each. Level 3 is where the real money starts. I've been fishing in a pond and I just found the ocean. The black-robed man's friends are in an abandoned village nearby, and I go to look because I'm greedy and because I want to know what put that flinch in him. It's a Black Lotus sect cell, a bald leader and half a dozen brothers, most of them martial masters, and a broken roof tile under my foot blows my cover into a 6-on-1 fight. I carve through several of them, sword draw and breeze willow and intent, and I'm winning, right up until the bald leader stops fighting like a man. He opens himself like a door and something climbs in. Its name is Kale, and it comes down into the bald man's body from somewhere that is not this world, and the temperature of the whole fight changes. Space itself locks around me. Phantom blades, saber intent, real and vast, rain down out of empty air, and for the first time since I died of cancer, I am genuinely, immediately about to die. 3 separate times, each one closer than the last. I only live because I take my sword intent and condense every scrap of it into a single blade held over my own head, a roof against the storm, and I hold it there while the thing in the bald man tries to take me apart. What saves me in the end isn't strength. It's the clock. Whatever Kyle is, he can only borrow that body for so long, and his time runs out, and the stolen flesh he was wearing crumbles to dust the instant he lets go of it. I put down the believers who are left, I absorb them, 74,000, 66, 121, 99, enough to shove me to martial artist level 6, and then I absorb the bald man and a strange stone statue he'd been guarding, a dark idol, and the number that scrolls up makes my knees go weak all over again. Plus 10 million and 3,000 experience from one statue, and the statue shatters into nothing when I'm done. I don't know yet what I just broke, but somewhere in a world that is not this one, Kale is picking himself up off a floor and reporting to a master and a row of senior brothers, and the news he brings them is very bad for me. The barrier between their world and mine is thinning. Within about 100 years, the whole sect means to come through, an invasion, patient and total. And they are all deeply unsettled that a martial artist level 5, a child by their reckoning, wielded true intent when their own kind only grasps such things at Grandmaster rank. The statue I shattered was worth something to them, something to do with how Kale recruits his believers, and its loss turns his professional interest into a personal one. He circulates my face to every senior brother he has, and he makes a promise about what he's going to do to me when he catches me. I earn my first interdimensional nemesis by winning a fight I was supposed to lose. I'd feel worse about it if I weren't up 10 million experience. Priorities. I finished the mission by finishing the one-eyed Wolf King, the alpha that led the pack that killed Feng Ming, and I spent 2 days recovering, not my body, which is fine, but my mind, because Kale hurt something in my spirit that pills don't reach. When I carry the Wolf King's corpse back to Danan in my storage ring, the village both rejoices and mourns, because the mission is done, and the man who bought it with his life isn't there to see it. That's when I learned Feng Ming was the chief's own son, that the white-haired man who buried him over 7 days was burying his boy. And the weight of it settles on me differently than any beast ever has. They feast that night on grilled wolf meat, the whole village, the way people do after a funeral, laughing and crying in the same breath. I sit with them. I don't make a single joke. Some tables you just sit at quietly and let be sacred. And on the ride back to Jiangnan, I get something I've never actually had in either of my lives. Brothers. Feng Jai drives, and 2 village sophomores ride along, Feng Liang and Feng Fei, kids who look about 40 and act about 12, and they spend the whole trip openly gawking at the 1,400 credit haul my mission paid out, ribbing me, calling me little brother, treating me like one of their own instead of like a monster or a charity case or a mark. I was an only child who died alone, then an orphan who starved alone. I did not know, until a wooden cart rattling back from a grieving village, what it was like to be teased by people who just plainly like you. I filed that one at the very top of the list. It cost nothing, and it's worth more than the ring. While I heal, I finally read Sun Ying's Uncultivatable Manual, the one nobody on her team could crack. And I discover why nobody could crack it. It's an evil warding skill, and to advance past the first page, you have to, remove a certain qualification for manhood. I throw the book across the room. Then I pick it back up, because a man who's transitioned could genuinely use this, and it'll resell. And I am nothing if not a merchant. I come back to Danan with the Wolf King's corpse in my storage ring, which impresses Feng Ji enormously, and a new scar running chin to forehead courtesy of Kale, which impresses the village children. The scar stays. Some marks you keep. Back at school, the deans finally tell me what the whole institution is quietly building toward, and it reframes everything. In 2 years, the 100 School Tournament, the event that ranks all 100-plus martial universities against each other, is going to be held inside a place called Secret Realm Number 10. Martial artist rank and below only. Each university gets 5 slots, and mine is already reserved. I'm not competing for a seat, I am the seat, which comes with a catch they lay out next. There's an opportunity land tied to the realm, a place only martial artist rank cultivators can enter, where even great masters can't reach the core, where Dean Sun got his own technique, And to keep my eligibility, I have to stay at martial artist rank for about 2 years and not break through. I agree instantly because I don't grow by breaking through anyway. I grow by pouring experience into intent and skills, sideways, off the books. They sweeten it with discounts and a mind healing from the alchemy dean and a pass that excuses me from classes, which is how I become the only student at Jiangnan University with official permission to skip his entire education and go live in the woods killing monsters. I have never been happier. I don't attend a single lecture on principle. The deans also tell me what the Black Lotus actually is, now that I've killed one of its elders' avatars. Kale is one of the 7 elders of the sect, and the sect's whole pitch to humanity is a shortcut, a technique that rockets ordinary people up to martial warrior or master fast, powered by human blood, real human sacrifice, which makes everyone who takes the deal a traitor to the entire species. Kill on sight, no exceptions, the enemy of the whole planet. Good to know the thing that nearly killed me is also cosmically evil. Simplifies the paperwork. The face slaps keep finding me, because arrogant people at this school apparently can't help themselves. The Q crew tries to tempt join my squad for the level 2 missions, and I reject all of them for failing to have even one martial skill at perfection. They take 8 to 10 moves to kill a tusked boar, a thing I once sorted back when I was a rank 5 apprentice. And then there's the Dan Pavilion, the Alchemy College, and it's worth slowing down for because it's run by Gao Mengmeng, the Alchemy Dean, a woman stuck at her rank for lack of good pill formulas, and she takes an immediate calculating interest in me. She gifts me 5 pills that heal the specific kind of mental wound Kale left in me, which is a genuine kindness, and then invites me to watch one of her seniors, a young woman named Li Luo, sit a level 2 alchemist exam, which is a genuine recruitment. I doze through most of the exam despite apparently possessing a 1 in a million talent for alchemy that Gao Mengmeng covets like a dragon covets gold. She wants me to haul pill formulas out of secret realm number 10 for her breakthrough, the same way everyone at this school wants me to haul out something. And Li Luo is warm to me, openly, which I don't think much of and which turns out to matter because it drives a certain jealous young alchemist absolutely out of his mind. That's the setup. The payoff is that I go for healing pills one day and get mocked by a room of alchemy students for being born without a father or mother. The society president Mei Wei, a talented boy gone soft and servile, bootlicking the powerful Zhang family, sides against me, and so does an arrogant young alchemist named Zhang Yuan, and between them, they escalate from insults to actually branding me a Black Lotus spy, which, given what I just survived, is a special kind of funny, so I correct the room. I deck the loudest mockers, teeth included. I pun Mei Wei's own name back at him, and when the society members charge me in a mob, I answer with a single flash of my sword, not to cut them, just to trim them. And the whole charging line of them stops dead and reaches up to discover they've all been shaved completely bald in one stroke, mid-run, without a scratch on their scalps. Then, Mei Wei throws his best punch at me, a Martial Master 6 Thunder Tiger Fist, and I block the entire thing with my sword still in its sheath. The deans Feng Tian and Li Wuji arrive to find their society president bald, humiliated, and thoroughly outclassed by a freshman. And they back me without hesitation, because, it turns out, they already know Mei Wei has curdled into someone who fears life after graduation, and it's exactly why they quietly pass the presidency to the ridiculous but loyal Zhou Jian instead. I walk out having advertised my Mu Ye squad for free to a packed hall, plus 2 brand new enemies, Zhang Yuan, who now wants me dead over a girl, and Mei Wei, who now wants me dead over his pride. I collect grudges the way I collect experience, passively, constantly, without really trying. The alchemy dean, a woman named Gao Mengmeng, watches all this and decides she wants a piece of me too, not to fight, but because I have some absurd 1 in a million talent for alchemy that I could not possibly care less about, and she wants me to haul pill formulas out of secret realm number 10 for her someday. Everyone at this school, I'm learning, is investing in me as their personal treasure hunter for a realm that opens in 2 years. Fine, let them. Their advance payments are excellent. Gao Mengmeng's advance is the first half of the Vajra Unbreakable Divine skill, a 9-level body refining art, and 2 incomplete Earth-grade sword skills from the other deans. And I take all of it with a straight face and a greedy heart. But the thing I actually ask Gao Mengmeng about has nothing to do with tournaments. I ask her how you heal ruined meridians, because Zhao Hu's meridians have been crippled for 19 years ever since the mayor's ambush dropped him from warrior to apprentice. And I have never once stopped keeping score on that. And she tells me there's a grade 5 pill, a meridian regenerating pill, and its key ingredient is an herb called succession vein grass, and the only place that grass still grows is inside the opportunity land, the same place my tournament slot is pointed at. Which means the quest to make myself strong and the quest to fix the one man left who loved my parents are, it turns out, the exact same road. I make Uncle Yang a promise he'll never hear. Standing in an alchemy hall, a drop of water repaid with a spring. I'm going to walk into that realm and walk out with his legs. The revenge keeps a heartbeat. It was never only about the man I'm going to take down. It's about the man I'm going to lift back up. I learned the new skills fast. Sui Feng swordplay, flowing cloud crossing that leaves after images, the Vajra skill to level 1, which expels another tide of impurity, and weirdly, starts healing my Kyle scar and sharpening my whole face, prompting the genuine concern that I might be turning into a pretty boy against my will. My realm settles at martial artist level 8, all of it still hidden. And then logistics hands me the thing I've been angling for. My squad's rank jumps high enough to unlock the front line. The front line is the human versus beast border, where the war is a daily fact and not a story. And it comes with 2 numbers the recruiters say quietly. The resources are enormous, and the death rate is about 30%. That 30% is the real reason Jiangnan's graduation numbers look the way they do. The frontier is where the third years go and where a lot of them stop being anything at all. And I hear 30% death and enormous resources. And what my brain translates it to is a war means corpses, and corpses mean experience. And I have the one stomach that eats corpses. I sign up before the recruiter finishes the safety briefing. On my way out, I collect 22,000 credits for a stack of wanted criminal heads I'd been carrying around, because at this school, even my trophies have a cash value. Getting there is its own comedy, because my name falls off the convoy list, a dean grabbed the wrong sheet, and the buses leave without me. And I'm left stranded with a mild, riddling research academy tutor named Tao Wanru, who everyone treats as a joke and who is, my hidden senses tell me, secretly a martial emperor. He gets us to the front in half a day in a 2-meter wooden cube that unfolds into a silent mechanical bird. Because of course, the joke tutor built a flying machine that outruns the beasts. And he explains, on the way, why nobody flies machines in this world anymore. Cloud beasts, monsters that disguise themselves as clouds, and range from martial spirit up to emperor strength, which is what grounded aviation a few centuries back and put everyone on green trains that take a week. His wooden bird is silent and slow and low enough to slip under their notice, which is the whole trick of it. The man rides beside me humming, dropping riddles I only half follow, radiating the aura of a harmless eccentric. And underneath it, to my hidden senses, the pressure of a martial emperor 3, folded up small so nobody looks twice. Don't judge by appearances, he keeps saying, and every time he says it, he means himself. And then I'm there. The front is a ruined border city soaked in old ash, with beast hordes and martial artists trading the sky overhead. More monsters in one place than I've seen in my life, which, and I want to be honest about my own broken wiring here, makes it look less like a war zone and more like an all-you-can-eat buffet. The rules are simple and they suit me perfectly. No killing in the open or you go on everyone's list. Secret kills are fine. Every beast you drop tallies demon slaying points on the token at your waist. 1 for a level 1, 10 for a level 2, 100 for a level 3. Points by better dorms, and the best dorms come with medicinal baths worth grade 3 and grade 4 pills. And overlaying all of it is a live ranking called the 100 Schools Prodigy List, the top 100 students across every university in the country, updated in real time, the leaderboard of the best young cultivators alive. I look at that list the way I looked at the storage ring, the way I looked at the ocean of corpses, like something that's already mine, and just hasn't found out yet. The front runs on its own economy, and I learned the shape of it fast. Dorms come in tiers, D, C, B, A, priced in demon slaying points per day, 50 for the bottom rung and 50,000 for the top, and the good ones come with medicinal baths worth a grade 3 or grade 4 pill every soak, with the A-tier baths rumored to raise your very talent. A shady manager named Gao works the dorm desk, upselling with the smile of a man who's skimmed a percentage off everyone who ever slept here. I clock him as the kind of operator worth watching, and file him away, not knowing he's secretly strong enough to matter, and will one day trade me a king's medicine to get his daughter onto my squad. There's a demon-slaying hall that trades points for pills and techniques, and there's the thing that makes my past life novel brain sit straight up: desolate cities. Abandoned cities that surface out of nowhere as the planet slowly expands, sealed caches of old techniques and old pills and old treasures, needing a great master's strength to crack, the kind of prize men kill each other over on sight. I hear sealed treasure that appears from nowhere, and I feel my whole face light up. I have a stomach that eats treasures and a nose that finds them. The front line isn't a war zone to me, it's a warehouse that keeps restocking. The prodigy list has names on it, and the names have opinions about Jiangnan, and the opinions are rude. Number 1 is a first military monster named Ji Shuyuan. Number 2's from Imperial Capital. Number 3 is one of ours, Mei Wei, before everything goes wrong with him. And when a couple of Magic Capital and Imperial students start mocking Jiangnan for sending its kids to die on the frontier instead of climbing a leaderboard, I get into it. And one of them, Feng Weifeng, ranked 49, makes the mistake of coveting my clear wind sword out loud, so he offers me a wager duel. Beat him. I take his rank and a mystic high-grade manual. Lose, he gets my sword. He's a martial master 6. I'm a martial artist 8, hidden. He thinks he's robbing a freshman. I accept so fast it should have warned him, because I've just done the math on killing 3 birds at once. A free technique, a free ranked dorm, and the specific pleasure of a man realizing mid-swing that he bet his whole reputation on the wrong red. The duel gets a proper stage, a ring 20 meters aside, a notary, a fearless Jiangnan tutor they call the Tiger King, who cows the smug imperial tutor trying to preside, and a crowd 3 deep, most of them here to watch the backdoor freshman get taught a lesson. Feng Weifeng spends the walk-in gloating over my clear wind sword like it's already hanging on his wall, narrating to his friends exactly which drawer he'll keep it in. First military squad lends me a borrowed blade so I don't have to risk my staked one, and a couple of their people mutter that they're disgusted watching a bully shake down a nobody. I thank them. I keep the thanks short, because I don't want to oversell how little I'll need the sword. The duel lasts about as long as it takes to describe it. Feng Weifeng opens with a Martial Master 6 technique, full confidence, the crowd already leaning in for the finish, and I step inside it and put him on the ground in one motion, so fast that half the ring doesn't register that it happened until he's already down and the dust is settling. A Martial Artist 8 beating a Martial Master 6 in a blink, which is impossible, which is exactly why I did it in front of 200 witnesses. Rank 49 and the Boundless Sea skill are both mine, and I keep my sword, and the crowd swarms. And here's the part that actually matters more than the win. Standing in the frontline market afterward, watching all these martial artists who clawed their way up from nothing, something in me clicks over, and my sword intent gains 3 million points of comprehension for free, just from understanding people a little better. My cheat eats experience, but my intent, it turns out, eats insight. And insight is everywhere, if you're paying attention. The face slaps keep coming, and I'll spare you most of them, because a man can only watch me humble so many arrogant nobodies before it stops being a treat, but 2 of them carry freight. The first is a magic capital boy named Li Gui, who struts up in the demon-slaying hall and demands an apology and 1,000,000 credits for some imagined slight, and leans on his father's name to do it. So I use my brand new rank 49 dignity as the excuse, and I beat him into the ground. And then I sit on him, actually sit down on the boy, in front of everyone, and give him 2 perfectly matching black eyes, a matched set, so nobody can say I played favorites between them. His senior, a magic capital heavyweight, could avenge it and decides it isn't worth his time, but on his way to not caring, he drops a name that reconnects my whole past to my present. Feng Hao, the mayor's son. He's at Magic Capital University now, closing in on Grand Master, climbing the same mountain I am from the other side. The boy who put a bounty on my limbs over a 6-second video is out there getting stronger too. Good. I'd hate to catch him while he's still weak. That would feel like less. And a bandit crew called the 5 Tigers tags me with a tracking mark and ambushes me, and I one-sword all 5, 400,000 experience, and loot a spirit eye technique off their corpses that lets me see a beast's rank as a colored flame from across a forest, which turns night hunting from a gamble into a menu. But the real event of the front line isn't a duel or a bandit, it's Mei Wei. Because Mei Wei, Jiangnan's own number 3, the talented boy gone soft, watches a backed freshman shoot up to rank 49, and something in him that was already rotting finishes rotting. He decides the universe cheated him. That his talent without resources was a cruelty, that all the help his mentors ever gave him was just charity thrown at a beggar, that a boy like me only rose because someone chose to lift me, and he takes that resentment to a stone statue in the dark and makes a dark oath over it, and he betrays the entire human race, and he joins the Black Lotus sect. In exchange for an Earth-grade technique and a monthly ration of pills and a faceless handler he calls his captain, Mei Wei becomes a mole, a traitor embedded inside my own university, and his first assignment is to report on me, because I am, apparently, the sect leader's personal target now. The sect recruits through envy. That's the thing I keep turning over. Not through strength, not through fear, through the specific poison of a gifted person who decided the world owed him and never paid. Mei Wei had the same mentors I have, the same school, the same doors. He looked at the exact circumstances that made me grind harder, and he decided they entitled him to quit and take the shortcut that runs on human sacrifice. I don't hate him for it, quite, but I do put him on a different list, not the list of people I protect. The other one. I master the spirit eye, and the frontline forest becomes a hunting ground with the lights turned on. I read a beast's rank as a colored flame now, white for level 1, red for 2, orange for 3, and I clear whole night hordes and 3 separate level 3 beasts in a stretch, losing both my shoes somewhere in it and finishing the job barefoot because the Vajra body doesn't care about thorns. 2 months of that, and my experience total crosses a line I've never crossed. 100 million. And the panel throws up a 24-hour upgrade countdown. And here's the thing, nobody warns you about a countdown. It gives your worst thoughts a place to stand. In the long, anxious wait for it to finish, the thing I've been outrunning since the day the panel appeared finally catches me. A heart demon. It comes up out of my own chest as black smoke with red eyes, a version of me wearing my face. And it whispers the truest and worst thing I know. Not a lie. That's what makes it lethal. Without the panel, you're nothing. You're a starving orphan who fainted in a slaughterhouse apron. You're a dead man in a wheelchair watching his last sunset. Everything you are is borrowed, and it can all be taken back in a single line of golden text. So what are you really, under the cheat, except the same trash your city always said you were? And the terrible part is how good it feels to agree, to stop climbing, to let the smoke in. And for a few minutes out there in the dark, I very nearly do. I very nearly become a monster, a real one, the kind the Deans would have to hunt down and put in the ground before it hurts someone. I fight my way out of it the only way that works, which is not by denying it, but by correcting it. The panel is icing. That's all it ever was. It handed me experience, sure, but I'm the one who crouched in the brush for 100 nights. I'm the one who learned to stop screaming inside a giant sword until the pain turned into intent. I'm the one who talked spiritual chi into my own body like a stray cat because no one ever taught me how. Take the panel away tomorrow, and I'm still Lu Liang, and Lu Liang climbs. The whisper wanted me to believe I was nothing underneath the cheat. The truth is, the cheat just got me to the mountain faster. The climbing was always mine. I come out the far side of that with my mind clearer than it's ever been, and my sword intent jumps from level 1 to level 2 on pure comprehension, because apparently the fastest way to level up your intent is to survive yourself. The upgrade finishes, and when I check the leaderboard, the name at the very top of the 100 schools prodigy list, above the first military monster, above the imperial capital genius, is mine. Number 1, out of every young cultivator in the country. A boy who tested in at rank 123,456 is now, by the only measure that counts kills, the single best student alive. Let that sink in. Rank 123,456 on paper. Rank 1 in fact. The gap between those two numbers is 100 nights in the brush and a stomach that eats the world, and nobody looking at my transcript will ever see it. Good. Let the transcript lie. The two rivals I bumped off the top both quietly promised themselves they'll settle it with me in person someday. A first military monster and an imperial capital genius, both certain the leaderboard glitched. It didn't. I look forward to disappointing them in person. The panel upgrade splits me into two staircases at once, a key track and a body track, the Vajra finally coming into its own, and I pour experience into both until my subconscious sword aura can dust a whole tree and I can hang my sword intent off a single fingertip. But strength on the leaderboard is a beacon, and beacons draw things. There's a night at sunset, and I'll admit this one, because I don't admit it often, where I sit alone on the front line and miss all 4 of my parents at once, the 2 on Earth and the 2 in the frame. And the specific small thing I miss is that nobody in this whole world will ever ask me if my porridge is warm. Just that. Then I put it away, because self-pity doesn't level up either. And I'm right to put it away, because I'm not alone. A Black Lotus hunting crew led by a grandmaster named Joe Lee has been stalking me for 2 months, patient as weather, and my bounty has climbed to 4 stars, the tier they pay for in mystic techniques and enlightenment pills. I'm worth a fortune to the people who want me dead. I don't know they're there yet. I just know an earthquake hits that night, and the ground folds, and something new is about to be born out of the broken space nearby, and every dangerous thing within 100 miles turns to look at it at the same time I do. What's born out of the folded ground is a desolate city, a tiny one, just 2 mud houses that push up out of nowhere like teeth through a gum, sheathed in a faint protective shield. These things appear as the planet slowly expands, and they're caches, old techniques, old pills, old treasures, sealed behind a barrier that drops on its own schedule. And the second they surface, the vultures arrive. 2 squads reach the houses first and argue over them, 1 house each, a tidy split, but nobody dares touch the doors because the shield hasn't dropped yet, and going through a live barrier is a good way to become a stain. Then a third crew barges in and the tidy split turns into a brawl, 3 groups of humanity's traitors killing each other over 2 mud huts in the middle of nowhere, and I do the single smartest thing I know how to do. I climb a tree and I erase my own footprints on the way up, and I wait, let them thin each other out. Let them pay the entry fee out of their own hides. I'll take whatever's left standing and whatever's inside once the arithmetic is friendlier. The waiting stops working when the winner emerges, because the winner is Joe Lee. He breaks through to Grandmaster 3 in the middle of the brawl, wipes out 2 rival squads on his own, and then, Grandmaster perception being what it is, he feels me up my tree, And for one strange moment he almost lets me go, because what he senses is a barefoot, filthy, scarred boy who reads like an ascetic, a self-punishing wandering cultivator not worth the trouble. Then one of his men gets a good look at my face and says the words that ruin both our evenings. That's the 4-star target. So we fight, and I want to be honest that this one costs me, because it's the closest thing to a fair fight I've had since Kale, and it isn't fair at all. I kill his 4 underlings with sword intent, level 4, clean, fast, before they finish their war cries. But Zhou Li is a grandmaster, oceans above where a martial warrior has any business standing, and his one yang palm comes down on me like the sky decided to sit down. The first one nearly ends it. I get a shield of true essence up, and it folds like paper, and I skid backward with my arms ringing and my vision white at the edges, and the honest thought in my head is that I've finally found the thing that's going to kill me. What saves me is the clear wind sword. My treasure artifact bites into his palm right when the palm expects to crush a nobody, opens a wound on a grandmaster's hand, and in the half-second of his genuine surprise, the flicker of a strong man realizing the weak one has teeth, I understand that I can actually win this. I condense everything I have into one giant blade of sword intent, and he throws his whole cultivation into one last palm, and the two of them meet in the middle and flatten both mud houses to powder. And when the dust clears, Zhou Li is down and doesn't get up, and I'm still standing, barely, under 30% true ki, vessels torn, and his corpse and all his men vanish into nothing before I can absorb a scrap of them. 5 million experience, blown away on the wind, which at this point in my life is the wound that actually hurts. But the shield over the desolate city flickers and drops. I won it. I paid the whole price of admission myself, and the door swings open. Inside, sitting at a stone table, is a skeleton made of crystal, and the skeleton starts to talk. His name is Jie Wangchen, the Wine Sword Immortal, and he is not from this world. He's a 3,000-year-old soul from a place called Shenzhou Continent, a true high cultivation world where the qi runs deep and thick, and he was an elder of the Central Plains sword sect, and he got stranded here, in this thin, barren, half-dead corner of creation, by a rip in space at the worst possible moment, mid-breakthrough, ambushed by 2 enemy powers, the Ghostgate sect and the bald monks of Shuiyun Temple. He's been dead a long time. What's talking to me is the last recorded echo of him, and it has been waiting all these centuries for exactly one thing, someone worthy to hand it all to. He tells me how he ended up dead in a mud house on a barren world. He was breaking through to a higher realm, the most vulnerable moment a cultivator ever has, when a spatial rip flung him across the void and dumped him here, half-formed and weak, and 2 enemy powers who'd been hunting him, the Ghostgate sect and the bald monks of Shuiyun Temple, followed him through and finished the job while he had nothing left to fight with. 3,000 years of cultivation ended by an ambush at his weakest second, a whole ocean away from home. So he takes me as his disciple. He binds it to my karma, which is a word I don't fully understand yet and will come to respect a great deal. And he gives me a life's worth of tasks in a handful of sentences. Before I turn 30, go to Shenzhou, find the Central Plains sword sect, and challenge their sword master as the Wine Sword Immortal's disciple, and avenge him on the Ghostgate sect and on Shuiyun Temple. 2 names on a world I've never seen, added to a revenge list that already has a mayor on it. My list crosses worlds now. I'm going to need a bigger stomach. Then he gives me the tools to become the kind of person who could. A sword cannon, his sect's core art, which cultivates all the way to the martial king realm, far beyond anything this world can teach. A sword control technique for flying on a blade, great river swordplay, which he invented himself. And last, the thing that changes my life more than any of the rest, a universe winegourd, an artifact that swallows living things and treasures and brews them into wine that raises a person's aptitude. That last one lands like a second sun in my chest, because aptitude is the one number my cheat has never been able to touch. My experience is infinite, but my raw talent, the ceiling the panel can't lift, is garbage. And here's a 3,000-year-old immortal handing me a bottle that fixes exactly that. He tells me it's my variable, the thing that makes me impossible to predict. And with his last flicker, he lets slip one regret, a promise he broke to a woman named Sun Lihua from a heavenly sound sect somewhere across the divide. Then the echo of the Wine Sword Immortal dissipates. The crystal skeleton and the stone table and the 2 mud houses crumble to dust at once. And I'm standing alone in an empty field with a dead man's whole world folded up in my ring and a promise on my karma to go collect a debt in a realm I've never seen. I bow to the empty air. I mean it. 2 cheap masters now, and both of them chose to teach a stranger instead of steal his body. In a world this cruel, that's the rarest inheritance of all. Far away, on Shenzhou Continent, 5 great bells toll at the Central Plains sword sect for the death of their lost little master brother, and their sect leader looks into the future with a secret method and sees that the disciple the Wine Sword Immortal took at the end will come to the sword sect in 10 years. 10 years. My whole future is being scheduled by people I've never met in a world I've never seen. I don't know any of that yet. What I know is that I'm bleeding out on the wrong side of a battlefield with under a third of my QE, and a level 4 beast is chasing me for dinner. It's a true fire Lin Lian cow, a fire-spitting monster, the same species that crippled one of my leaderboard rivals, and it runs me down across a plain while my torn vessels scream. And I only survive because I happen to scream for help within earshot of two of my own deans, Feng Tian and Li Wuji, out here on the frontier stealing monkey wine of all things. Feng Tian crushes the level 4 cow like an afterthought and pours a grade 6 pill down my throat. And it's only later that anyone works out the ugly truth. That cow didn't find me by accident. The Black Lotus captain, Mei Wei's faceless handler, lured it onto my trail. The whole chase was an assassination attempt dressed up as bad luck. Somebody spent real resources trying to make my death look like the frontier just doing what the frontier does. When I tell the deans what I've been up to, the desolate city, the vanished squad, the fact that a martial warrior killed a grandmaster 3 named Zhou Li, Feng Tian nearly drops out of the sky, and I have a phone video of the massacre to prove it, which screens for the university and military council and lands like a bomb. A General Liu takes one look and smells organized rot, Black Lotus, or its uglier cousin, the 10,000 Beasts Gate, and orders a month-long purge of the traitors salting the front line, with Jiang Nan leading it. I get praised. I also learn a word for what saved my life without my knowing, ascetic. That's what Zhou Li read me as, a barefoot self-mortifying cultivator, which is the only reason he hesitated long enough for me to matter. Filth as camouflage. I'll take it. A shady frontline manager named Gao buys his way into my good graces, a premium medicinal bath that can heal even a martial king's wounds, in exchange for pre-slotting his daughter Gao Xin into my Muya squad next year, which I allow because the bath knits my torn meridians back together over 3 days in milky water that smells like the stalactite fluid that started everything. I come out of it reinforced but warned. My meridians can be strained again, and they'll take about a year to fully heal. Until then, I'm capped. I can only push my true Kuai to martial artist level 3, even though I'm a martial warrior 9 underneath. A governor bolted onto the engine. I hate it. I obey it, because the alternative is shredding the vessels I just paid 3 days of milk bath to fix. 2 things happen back at Jiangnan that matter for later. The first is small and funny. I've been gone so long cutting so many classes that a Q family boy got crowned #1 freshman in a competition I didn't bother to attend, and the teachers are apoplectic that I vanished for a whole semester with no leave slip, and the deans quietly cover for me because a martial warrior 9 who killed a grandmaster does not in fact need to attend Introduction to Footwork. And when I reunite with Feng Ji and Sister Li and they ask casually how my frontline stint went, I mention my demon slaying point total, 130,000 and change, and watch them both nod politely because they've assumed I misspoke and meant 1,300, which is already a strong showing for a freshman. It takes a full minute of me not correcting the number for the truth to land, and when it lands they look at me the way you look at a math error that turned out to be a miracle. I've stopped bothering to explain my numbers to people. The numbers explain themselves, eventually, usually right after somebody assumes I've made a typo with my own life. The second thing is not small at all. In a closed council, Dean's son tells the others that the leader, the supreme figure of the whole human race, has burned a century of his own lifespan gazing into the stars, and has foreseen a person. A misty, unclear figure who will break the pattern, who will make the martial path flourish again, who might climb all the way to martial emperor and a 3,000-year life. And this person, the leader says, takes the martial exam this year, so the deans have to find him and scout him and special recruit him, exactly the way they scouted me. I file it away as somebody else's destiny, which, given how these things go, should have been my first clue that it was about to walk right into my squad wearing a familiar face. The Wine Sword Immortal's real gift, the sword cannon, I can't even touch yet. It's a heaven-grade art that cultivates all the way to Martial King, and its true key is so razor-sharp that the moment I test it, it starts slicing up my still-healing meridians from the inside. So the single most valuable thing I own goes back in the ring, locked behind a year of recovery, a god's blade held just out of reach of a boy who isn't allowed to grip it yet. His swordplay does show me the road ahead though, a whole staircase above sword intent that I never knew existed. Sword intent, then sword stance, then sword domain, then sword Dao, and my master reached the domain. My goal has a shape now, I just have to survive to climb it. I lose another sword along the way, which is becoming a personality trait. I try to nurture the clear wind sword towards sentience with my mind, the way the sword control technique describes, and it works. The blade wakes up, becomes briefly, gloriously alive, and then it shatters because even a maxed, refined steel treasure artifact can't hold a spirit. I mourn it. I'm not a good sword master, I tell the pieces. My swords keep dying on me. Maybe I love them too hard. But the gourd changes the whole story I've been telling myself. I bloodbind the universe wine gourd, and 2 new rows appear on my panel, talent and magic treasure, and the talent row finally answers a question I've been carefully not asking. Because here's the thing about me that the leaderboard hides and the panel doesn't. My raw talent, my innate aptitude, the ceiling I was born with in this body, is yellow tier 3. Which is terrible, which is, in cultivator terms, dirt. Every impossible thing I've done, every record I've broken, every rival I've bumped off the top of the list, none of it came from being gifted. I am by nature one of the least talented people at my entire university. I rose on a cheat and 100 nights in the brush and nothing else. And somehow that lands as the most reassuring thing I've learned all year, because it means none of this was luck of the draw. It was work. The gourd just handed me the receipt. Then it hands me the fix. I drop a stalactite into it, and it brews the thing into wine. And I drink, and my talent ticks up from 3 to 4, plus a free surge of realm proficiency on the side. I name the stuff Dukang wine, what dispels sorrow but Dukang, and I understand immediately what I've been given. Not a weapon, a cheat for the one number my other cheat couldn't reach. Everything I throw in the gourd comes back out as aptitude and free progress. The immortal called it my variable. I'm starting to think he undersold it. I demo a fraction of what I can do to keep the campus guessing. When the new number 1 freshman, a Q family boy named Ku Yihang, stakes out my dorm for a duel, I show him exactly one move of Great River swordplay, a towering column of sword key water that freezes him in place by sword intent alone, and then splits harmlessly around him without touching a hair. Then I say, I lost, and I let him keep his win. And the whole crowd and half the deans stand there stunned that a freshman is throwing around intent like a party trick. Li Wuji and Feng Tian half joke that maybe the leader's prophesied world changer, the one taking the exam this year, is just me, and then remember the prophecy names a brand new student, not a sophomore, and go back to scanning the horizon for someone who isn't standing right in front of them. I let them. Dramatic irony's more fun when you're the only one who can't quite enjoy it. Being swordless, I go weapon shopping again. Buy a fresh treasure artifact called the Qingyun sword off a soft-spoken salesman named Guang Li, and stock a couple of backup arts for the days my sword breaks, which, based on my track record, will be soon. My swords keep leaving me, but they leave me sharper every time. Ku Yihang's team still hasn't learned, so they follow me into a level 3 jungle to save me from my own recklessness and promptly get mauled by a 3-eyed mantis, the fastest thing in that forest, and I one-shot it with Great River swordplay before it finishes its lunge, and that, finally, is the end of anyone at Zhongnan thinking they can rival me. The faculty watch it from the sky and quietly agree to just pass me, full marks, no assessment, because grading a boy who kills grandmasters would only wreck the confidence of every other student in the room. I skip the rest of my education with the school's blessing and go live in the woods for 3 months. And I want to say something about this school while I'm out here, because it's the thing that makes Zhongnan different from the shiny academies that mock it. The whole world runs on a resource gradient. The safe cities lose maybe 5% of their students. The frontier academies lose 30%. The rich schools get the good pills and the good mentors and the soft odds, and the poor ones send their kids to the border to die buying everyone else time. And Zhongnan's professors, almost every one of them, clawed up out of the bottom of that gradient. When they talk about how they made it, they don't say talent, and they don't say luck. They say a single blunt word that means fight, rob, steal, grind. Do whatever it takes, because nobody was ever going to hand it to a poor kid. That's the creed carved under the polish here. It's why they took a scholarship butcher and bid millions on him. It's why the one virtue this place actually rewards is the refusal to quit. I fit in at Zhongnan the way I never fit anywhere, because Zhongnan is a whole university of people who were also told once that they were trash and decided to become a correction instead. 3 months. I come back with my talent brewed all the way up to yellow tier 6, the sword cannon finally started, 2 backup arts at major achievement, and a universe wine gourd holding a 15 cubic meter lake of Dukang wine made from thousands of beasts. And I come back with a realization that reshapes my whole future. Without talent, my key cultivation has a ceiling, but body refining doesn't. The Vajrapath doesn't care how gifted I was born. That's the road. That's the one that goes all the way up. Then Mei Wei comes back to kill me, and I have to bury the second student I've watched throw his soul away. He's a Grand Master too now, riding Black Lotus pills, and he tracks me to a new desolate city and fakes friendship and then ambushes me, and I let him think it lands, play crippled, and let him talk, because a man who thinks he's won will tell you everything. He tells me my head is a 4-star bounty. He tells me he betrayed the human race because the human race betrayed me first, and then I give him my truth, the one I earned in the brush. I'm not gifted. Yellow tier talent. The dirt of my whole university. Everything I have I got by daring to grind. 130,000 demon-slaying points, hunting day and night, never once quitting. If you'd done the same, I tell him, you'd never have lacked for a single resource in your life. And I watch it land. I watch Mei Wei understand in his last minute that the mentors he cursed did try to save him, that the door was open the whole time and he's the one who turned around and walked to the statue instead. And I watch it land on his face in real time, the moment he stops being able to blame the world because the boy standing in front of him started with less than he did and did the work he refused to do. The rage goes out of him. What's left underneath is just a tired, gifted kid who took a shortcut and can't take it back. He dies redeemed, or as close to it as a traitor gets. Tell my mentors, he says. Di Tian, Wood, tell them I was wrong. My phone is quietly recording all of it, because I'll need proof, and because a dying man's confession is the only apology his mentors will ever get. I kill him cleanly. And I don't absorb his body, don't feed him to the art for the experience, even though it's free millions sitting right there, because some part of me looks at the wreck of a gifted boy who talked himself into damnation and just thinks, a pitiful man. He was almost me if I'd turned the wound the other way. Let him keep his bones. His death cracks open the command structure above him. His handler, the captain, a creature that calls itself Old Ye, reaches me through a space passage, furious that his Mei Wei soul lamp just went dark and confirms the shape of the war I'm in. The Tiger Wolf squad was his, Zhou Li was his, and I've been personally dismantling one of the Seven Elders' operations without even knowing the org chart. His projected killing intent comes down the passage at me, and my sword intent shatters it and injures him straight back through the connection, and he flees, swearing to return. But before he goes, he lets two things slip that reframe the whole endgame. Secret Realm number 10, the tournament, the Opportunity Land, the place with Jiaohu's grass in it, has been moved up 6 months. It's nearly here. And it holds a martial saint's legacy. Every faction on the planet is about to converge on the one door I already have a reserved seat behind. And inside that second desolate city, once the dust settles, I find my consolation prize for the whole ordeal. 2 more manuals hidden in a false compartment. Yan Overlord Blade Art. And a spirit transformation art, which when I learn it, does something I didn't know was possible below the martial spirit realm. It converts my true ki into true essence, pale blue, water heavy and sword sharp, fusing everything I've cultivated into one refined current. My healed meridians barely survive the upgrade. And on the far side of it, a lazy flick of one finger digs a crater 3 meters wide. I paused for a year to heal, and the pause didn't cost me the climb. It coiled the spring. Then I learned to fly, and I have to stop being funny for a second. The sword control technique hits major achievement, and it lets me grow the universe wine gourd big enough to stand on. And I step onto it, and it lifts off the ground, and I rise into the open sky under my own power, and I cry. I'm not going to pretend I didn't. A boy who spent his last life in a wheelchair watching the world from a rooftop, who couldn't move his own legs at the end, is standing on a flying gourd a mile up with the wind in his teeth. Both my lives wanted this. Neither one thought it would ever get it. I name myself quietly, just for me, the Wine Sword Immortal, Liu Liang, after the dead man who gave me the ride. Then I fly home to Jiangnan and land feather soft in front of the whole campus, because if you finally learn to fly, you do not land in private. A man on a flying gourd. Let them talk. Zhao Fang meets me back at the school with a warning wrapped in worry. Stay off the wine, she says. A genius drank himself to death over a broken heart 100 years ago. And an assignment. Exam guard duty. At Honghai number 7, my home city. She thinks she's handing me a chore. She's handing me the stalactite cave and my parents' graves and Uncle Yang. I take it before she finishes the sentence. The deans mug me for wine before I go. 100+ caddies of Dukong, coaxed out of a man who's sitting on a lake of it, with the specific shameless enthusiasm of 2-century-old martial emperors discovering a student makes free happiness in a gourd. They walk me through the tiers of magic treasures while they're at it. Sharp weapon at the bottom, then yellow and mystic and earth and heaven. My gourd sitting at mystic, though I claim yellow to keep the mystery. And somewhere in the negotiation, I make the mistake of mentioning the evil warding manual, the one whose advanced pages require a certain irreversible sacrifice. And I watch 2 dignified emperors physically recoil and reflexively check on the well-being of their own third legs. Then Feng Tian gifts me a chi-enhancing skill, and the 2 of them get to watch me casually reveal a true essence that a martial warrior is not supposed to have, which floors them, because it means that below the martial spirit realm, I might simply be the strongest thing walking. Even a fresh martial spirit could lose to me. They explain why, half to themselves, a martial spirit can actively command the ambient spiritual chi of the world around it, which is how one of them can beat 9 Grand Masters at once. And I'm the freak who's turned that math upside down from below. They don't say any of it like a compliment. They say it like a weather report for a storm they're glad is on their side. And I keep a promise to a dead traitor. I show them the video, Mei Wei's betrayal, his ambush, his last words. Tell my mentors I was wrong. Li Wuji and Feng Tian raised that boy from an apprentice into a master. Jiangnan's pride, they called him once. They watch him damn himself on my phone screen, and they cycle through the whole thing. The doubt, the rage, the grief. And at the end, they don't blame me. They thank me, they cremate him, and they give him a clean cover story, a hero's death against a level 5 beast, so his shame dies with him. And they add a moral education course to the curriculum so the next gifted bitter kid has one more hand reaching for him before the statue does. That's the kind of school Jiangnan is. It buries its worst as gently as its best, and then it tries to make sure it never has to again, and the lie travels because Mei Wei was famous. His heroic death against a level 5 beast goes out across the whole country, and the rivals who knew his name react to it in their own corners. The first military monster at the top of the leaderboard, the imperial capital genius, and, in a magic capital dorm, the mayor's son Feng Hao, who looks at the news and murmurs, "I wasn't as good as you," and vows to climb higher in his memory. Zhou Jian swears through tears he'll hunt the beast that killed him. Every one of them takes the death as fuel. Not one of them will ever know the truth, that their inspiration was a traitor, killed by a classmate, mourned by the 2 mentors he sold to the enemy. I stand there holding the real version in my phone and say nothing, because some cover stories hold up more than a reputation. This one holds up a school's whole idea of itself. Then I nearly kill myself by accident and get rich off it instead. I max the chi-enhancing skill and it opens my dantian wider, and I've paired it with an art that pulls in external ki, and the combination decides to try to kill me. A storm of spiritual ki comes howling into me from a full kilometer around, a visible spiral of the stuff draining out of the air itself, so much, so fast, that bystanders a field away lose their own breakthroughs mid-cultivation because I've inhaled the fuel right out from under them. The deans arrive at a dead run, actually horrified, because this exact combination is a documented death sentence. They've tested it on captured Black Lotus prisoners as an execution method, and every single one shattered from the inside. And my dantian does shatter. I feel it go, a core organ tearing, and my hair goes white in a single breath, root to tip, the color scared right out of me. For one long second, I'm certain I've finally spent my second life on a math error, and then it reforms, not back into a dantian, into something else. A danhai, a pilsi, yan-evolved organ that's supposed to be impossible to open before the martial king realm, born here, in a martial warrior, out of willpower and a cheat and a true essence that refused to die. My true essence comes back 3 times stronger. The deans stare at my white hair like I've grown a second head. "You're about to strike it rich," Dean Sun says, and he means it literally. I hand the spirit transformation art over to the Education Bureau for 1,000,000+ credits and a supervisor's dorm, keep my hidden overlord blade to myself, and pocket the whole disaster as profit. And back in Honghai, the kindness I threw away in a park a lifetime ago comes back wearing a face. Li Mei is there, funding poor kids with healing pills like she once funded me, and one of those kids is named A Long, the sallow, talentless boy I lifted off his knees under a street lamp and told to try a different weapon. He's not talentless anymore. He carries a sword spirit master in his scabbard now, an old soul who handed him a technique, and he wants to repay me. I planted a seed on my way out of that city and never looked back. It grew into something with its own inheritance. I don't know that yet, but it's coming. The trip home comes with a mission attached, which suits me, because the mission points at Honghai. Hunt down a handful of Martial Master 6 fugitives who've fled to my old city. I get a fancy holographic bracelet phone to do it with. My talent brews up to Luo Tier 1. My body refining crosses into Martial Master, and I fly back toward the place where all of this started. My parents' graves are there. The stalactite cave is there. Uncle Yang is there. And so, it turns out, is the single biggest payday of my life. Because on the way I find a new cliff cave, 3 ancient skeletons, a rotted manual, and a stalactite pool that's been dripping for 10,000 years. 10,000 experience a drop. I absorbed the whole pool, and my total rockets passed a number I didn't think was real. 1 billion experience. And a switch flips in my head, right there in the dark. I've been doing this wrong. I've been grinding beasts 1 corpse at a time like a peasant, when the real use of Northern Darkness divine art was never the monsters. It's this. It's the treasures. 1 stalactite pool just out-earned 2 years of hunting. From now on, I don't chase packs. I chase glowing rocks. Honghai has grown up while I was gone, and not in good ways. The rivals who came to test the mission are the same faces from the top of the leaderboard, all here hoping to fight me. And I flatten the whole room with raw aura and refuse to spar because none of them are worth the exercise. And A Long's little trio finds a stalactite of their own in a cliff cave, and all 3 break through to the martial artist realm at once. The park boy I lifted off his knees, and 2 girls named Gao Xin and Liu Rong, each of whom, I'll learn, has a secret martial king bodyguard trailing her at a discreet distance, because it turns out one of them is that shady frontline manager's daughter and the other is a general's. The chosen one has collected a rich, well-guarded little party without even trying, the way protagonists do. Their families, watching them climb, quietly decide the girls should enroll at Jiangnan, pulled by a squad with a suspicious number of perfection-level skills and a captain nobody can read. Everyone's currents are bending toward the same drain, and the drain is me, and I still think I'm the one who got away from the plot. And the city's quiet rot has a new shape, because I finally learned what the mayor spent my parents' deaths on. Feng Jiansheng has broken through to martial spirit. He's above me now, out of reach for the moment. The four of them, the mayor and his steward and his two enforcers, all pushed into the martial spirit realm by that mysterious faction's pills, and I have to swallow the revenge again and bite it, which I've had a lot of practice at. But the worst part isn't the mayor's new rank. It's the sentence that comes attached to it, almost offhand. Those people have taken a liking to Yangxing slaughterhouse. The faction the mayor sold the city to is closing in on Uncle Yang's business, the one clean, decent place in my whole origin story, and there's a shadow moving toward it. Before I go to the man I really came home for, I stop at Wei's, the little breakfast shop under my old building, and it's the warmest 10 minutes of the whole trip. They're still there, the husband, the wife, their boy Liangde, still slipping an extra bun to whoever looks like they need one, and their faces do something complicated when they realize the gaunt scholarship kid who used to count coins for soy milk is the young man who just landed out of the sky. I put a blood-replenishing pill into the boy's hand for his own exam someday, worth more than the shop clears in a year, and I don't let them give it back. Some debts you repay with interest the second you finally can. Then I go see the man I really came for, and it takes everything I have not to go find the mayor that same hour, because Zhao Hu's hair has gone gray. The big quiet man who handed a starving orphan 2 million yuan is being slowly strangled, his slaughterhouse choked by the mayor's business suppression, pressure coming from directions he can't fight, and he's aged a decade in the time I've been away. I give him pills he pretends not to need. I offer him tens of millions he refuses to take. And he looks at me with wet eyes and says the thing he always says, the thing that is both the warmest and the heaviest sentence in my life. If only your brother and sister-in-law were here to see you. Their son, my parents. I stand in that shabby office and I make him a promise I intend to keep with interest. I'm going to reach martial spirit, and then I'm going to take everything Feng Jiansheng stole. From my parents, from Uncle Yang, from this whole gray-haired city, and I'm going to hand the bill to the mayor personally. On the way to the stalactite cave, I run into A Long again. And I still don't recognize him. I'm sensing a theme in my life, but I recognize the problem. His trio is getting mauled by a three-eyed mantis, and his blade shatters as he throws himself in front of the two girls, so I kill it with a leaf. A single leaf, charged with sword intent, thrown from cover, and the level 3 mantis drops. Then I warn the kids off beasts they can't handle and leave without giving my name. But A Long knows me. He knows the benefactor from the park. And the old sword spirit riding in his scabbard, a soul called Master Lu, goes very quiet and very impressed, because a leaf carrying sword intent at that level, thrown by a martial warrior, is a thing he claims he hasn't seen even on the great cultivation continent in 10,000 years. He half recognizes something in me, too. A line of poetry I muttered once about riding the wind and slaying demons. Old souls, it turns out, keep running into each other across worlds. I don't clock it. I've got fugitives to kill. The fugitives find me first, because Butler Lee hired them to. They're supposed to be Martial Master 6 criminals. They're actually Grandmaster 1, juiced on the faction's pills. And I only find that out mid-fight, which doesn't matter, because I put them down anyway, and I get the name out of them before the end. Butler Lee, the mayor's man, which confirms, for the third time now, that Feng Jiansheng wants me dead. Then I call the officer who assigned the mission and negotiate my reward up to 10,000 a head as hush money, because their bad intel could have gotten the elite recruits killed, and a little bureaucratic guilt is worth its weight in credits. He and his colleagues quietly pocket a kickback off the top. Everybody eats. It's very human. And then there's Feng Hao, and Feng Hao is where I almost lose myself. I reunite with Li Mei. The stern teacher turns out to have been a beautiful young woman under stage makeup the whole time. And with Zhang Shui, and Feng Hao walks up flanked by the old news club girls to mock me. Still not even a martial artist? Luck got you into Jiangnan. And I face slap him the easy way first out loud. Zhang Shui outranks his whole crew despite Imperial Capital pouring 50% more resources into them than Jiangnan ever spent on her. So what does that make you? Trash. The crowd laughs. And then it stops being funny, because Feng Hao is Feng Jiansheng's son, and Feng Jiansheng killed my parents. And standing this close to that bloodline, I feel my sword intent rise on its own and flood the whole square with killing pressure until everyone who slandered my school is on their knees. I am one motion from ending him. 1. His father took 2 people from a photo frame and pinned it on the dead, and here's his heir smirking at me in a city center. Li Mei and Zhang Shui shout me back. City center, rules, witnesses, and I stop. I put it away, the way I've put everything away for 100 nights. And I tell Feng Hao to consider himself lucky, and I mean it as a fact and not a threat. because the boy isn't the debt. The father is, and a gentleman collects the whole debt at once from the man whose name is on it, not in a crowded street from a smirking son who doesn't even know yet what his family did. Li Mei watches me rein it in and frets that the sweet starving boy she fed has grown into something with a blade for a spine. She's not wrong, she's just early. There's still a warm thread in here. It's just wrapped around a very cold plan. And the cold plan scares me a little, if I'm honest, because the killing intent that flooded me looking at Feng Hao didn't fully switch off afterward. I've killed a lot of people this year, bad people, everyone, but a lot, and I can feel it building a pressure behind my eyes, the front edge of another heart demon. So I do the least heroic, most effective thing I know. I sit down and recite the calmest scripture I can remember from my past life, half mangled, until the pressure eases, a martial king muttering a monk's prayer to keep himself from becoming a monster. Then, rattled, I fly too far too fast that night and nearly blunder into a fully conscious martial king cloud beast. And I have to crash dive to escape it, straight down into a swarm of level 3 frogs that spit acid strong enough to crack my sword. I kill every one of them on the way through. 50 million experience absorbed in a panic, because even a bad night ends in a payday when you're me. I come out of it shaken, sharper, and 50 million richer. The universe keeps trying to kill me and keeps accidentally tipping me. A pack of level 3 frogs and 50 million experience later, my new sword cracks on their venom, and a flock of strange crows leads me somewhere that isn't on any map. An endless void, and in the void, a cemetery. Not a normal one. A graveyard of history's dead. The great names, tombs stretching past the horizon, and it puts me on trial. The trial pares the tombs down with questions about swords, how old, what weapon, and then the big one. What is a sword? The trial pares the tombs down one question at a time. How old were you when you first held a sword? What weapon killed you? Answer wrong and a tomb sinks back into the void. Answer true and it stays. I'm honest at every step because lying to a graveyard feels like a bad idea and the tombs thin around me until only a handful are left. Then comes the one that decides everything. What is a sword? And I tell the truth. I don't know. That honesty wakes 4 of them up. 4 sword spirit souls climb out of 4 tombs, legends every one, a sword demon who was invincible in his age, a sword saint, an assassin named Li Yuan who killed a king with 1 stroke, an imperial tutor, and my own 4 dead swords, the bronze and the Longquan and the clear wind and the Qing Yun, all rise out of my memory and merge back into me at once. 4 blades I broke and buried. Come home. The 4 legends look me over the way old craftsmen look at an apprentice, and then they ask me the real question. What is the strongest sword? And I don't reach for any of the famous answers because I don't have one. I've held 4 swords and broken every one. The steel was never the point. So I say the thing I actually believe after 2 lifetimes of being written off. The one who wields the sword is the strongest sword. The swordsman, not the blade. They laugh. All 4 of them, at once. And it's a good laugh, the kind you don't hear from the dead often. Most of them tell me, kindly, that their sword isn't suited to me anyway. The assassin's road isn't the saint's road, isn't mine. The sword demon likes my answer enough to offer me his whole legendary path, his famous 9-sword technique, laid at my feet by a man history still whispers about. And I turn it down. Because a dead master already taught me the only rule that's never once failed me. Only what you realize for yourself is truly yours. A borrowed legend is just a heavier version of somebody else's sword. I'll break my own, thanks. I'll walk my own road, thanks. One of them, the assassin Li Yuan, decides he likes me enough to stick around and mooch my Dukong wine, which is how history's #1 killer becomes a freeloader in my storage space. He leaves me a parting gift on the way, a wind concealment art, which I pick over 2 heaven-grade skills, because a cultivation technique deepens the foundation and a skill's just a tool. And by the time I walk back out of that cemetery, my sword intent has climbed to level 7, paid for by a cracked sword and 1 honest answer. Best trade I've ever made. Then the mayor sends his 3rd try, and this one nearly closes the account. They're from the 10,000 Beasts Gate, the Black Lotus's ugly cousin, another faction of humanity's traitors, except these ones drink beast essence instead of human and grow half animal for it, elephant heads and bear heads and things with too many joints. 3 of them, Grandmaster 9, a grotesque little assassination trio with ears that hear a mile off and a nose that tracked me to Honghai by the scent of my own home. My home. The one place in the world that should have been safe, and the mayor pointed monsters at it using my own front door. And this fight is bad. It's genuinely bad. 3 Grandmasters against a martial warrior is not a fight. It's an execution that hasn't finished yet. They press me so hard, so relentlessly, that my Great River swordplay actually levels up in the middle of it out of pure survival instinct, my understanding leaping because the alternative is dying, and I cut all 3 of them down. And then, rather than die killed, they detonate their own heads, a demon core buried in the brain that blows on death, and the blast carves a 100-meter crater and takes half the countryside with it. I lived through it on nothing but my Vajra body and a shield of true essence, bones broken, no fatal wound, lying in a smoking pit realizing that the mayor is now spending grand masters on me like their pocket change. 3 factions circle me now: Black Lotus, 10,000 Beastgate, the faceless spirit pill people, and every one of them routes back through the same man in the same mayor's office. The web keeps tightening, and every strand of it leads home. I heal for 7 days, collect some new facial scars, and take stock. The 10,000-year stalactite left me sitting on roughly 150 billion experience, enough to push my Vajra body to level 5, which would give me an actual martial spirit grade physique. I don't spend it yet. There's a realm to get into first, and the realm caps at Martial Warrior, and I am not about to disqualify myself the week before the door opens. The exam comes back around, a full year has turned, and it's A-Long's turn to be tested now, and I get drafted as last year's star to give the graduating pep talk, so I plagiarize a rousing patriotic speech from my past life, deliver it with total conviction. And then tack on the only original line I care about: "You foolish juniors are worthless, so go to Jiangnan and surpass me." It recruits and insults in the same breath, which is my favorite kind of sentence. A jealous suitor named Zhao Kun mouths off during the realm test, so I pin him with a killing intent illusion until he wets himself in front of everyone, which I feel appropriately bad about for 0 seconds. And then the trio tests, and the deans literally stand up out of their chairs because Zhou A-Long comes in as a martial artist and the 2 girls as martial warriors, freshman scores that shouldn't exist, and the universities start a bidding war for all 3, which is when I finally clock what I'm looking at: a talentless boy, lifted off his knees by a mysterious old man, rocketing up from nothing, surrounded by devoted friends and beautiful girls, drawing every dean in the country to bid on him. I've read this story. I've read it 100 times. Zhou A-Long is the protagonist, the chosen one, the destiny kid, the misty figure the leader burned a century of life to foresee. Which makes me, what exactly, the imposter? The supporting character who wandered into the wrong genre and got a cheat by clerical error, and my immediate, deeply serious conclusion is, stay away from him. Protagonists attract disaster the way glowing rocks attract me. I resolve to keep a full city block between myself and the chosen one at all times. This plan will last approximately until the deans assign him to my squad, but I don't know that yet. And for one blissful stretch, I really believe I've dodged the plot. The real event of that whole stretch happens quietly, at night, with nobody watching. Because there's a piece of the original Liu Liang still inside me, a wisp of the orphan whose body I woke up in, buried deep, holding on, a snag that could tear my mind apart at some future breakthrough. I've been carrying a passenger this whole time, and never quite knew it. The boy who owned this face before me, who starved in it, who cultivated to rank 3 on spite and an empty stomach, who never got to see a single thing I've done with the life he couldn't finish. And after 3 days of what I can only call negotiation, 2 versions of the same name sharing one skull, working out who gets to keep it, the original soul finally lets go. It hands me the one thing it never got to finish: its obsession, its whole reason for gritting through a childhood nobody should survive: revenge on Feng Jiansheng. It gives me that, presses it into my hands like a dying man passing on a debt, and it trusts me to carry it, and then it dissipates. And my mind goes clear and quiet, and entirely my own for the first time since I arrived. On the wall, the 2 small photographs of parents I never met crumble to dust, the last thread of the borrowed life, gone. The body is fully mine now, not inherited, not borrowed, mine. And the strangest thing is what I feel, which isn't triumph, it's gratitude. No need to thank me, I tell the empty room where a boy used to be. I should be thanking you. He gave me a second life and a reason to burn down a mayor. I'll spend both well. The deans land all 3 of the prodigies for Jiangnan and drop them into the number 1 ranked Mu Ye squad, which is of course my squad, my one-man cartoon squad, a fact nobody thinks to mention to the chosen one I've been trying to avoid. I even fly them home on the gourd myself, all of them green and retching by the landing, in exchange for a promised famous sword. So much for the city block of distance. The plot found me anyway. It usually does. And while I'm dodging one destiny, another one finds me on television. Because that pep talk of mine aired nationwide, and in a walled compound in Jianggu City, an old and powerful martial family watches it and goes dead silent, because I am the living image of a man they lost. Their son, Liu Xiang, who walked out more than 10 years ago when they forbade his marriage. The grandmother stares at my scarred face filling the screen and starts to weep, not for the fame, but for the scars, for the visible evidence that her lost boy's boy has been out there getting cut open while they sat in their compound. That's Xiang's son. They pull DNA from a hair left behind in my Honghai apartment and confirm it, relative. And they send an uncle to Honghai to find me and bring me home. I've spent 2 lifetimes as an orphan. It turns out I have living relatives, a powerful martial family, and they've decided, now that I'm famous, that they'd like me back. I don't know any of this is coming. I'm busy being a captain. I spend 151 billion experience and clear another wall. My talent brews up to Luo Tier 3, and the panel unlocks something that genuinely frightens me with how good it is: enlightenment. For 1 billion experience a minute, I can simply buy comprehension of concepts, of the things that are supposed to take a lifetime of insight to grasp. I test it by pushing my sword intent to perfection, a spike so violent that Dean's son feels it across campus and starts wondering, again, exactly what he recruited. Bai Xinyuan hands me the famous sword I was promised, a 1,000-fold replica of an ancient king's blade, and I name it Yunyu, the Wandering Sword. And then I turn around and there they are, 7 new juniors, force assigned to my Mu Ye squad, Zhou A Long and the 2 girls and 4 more, each of them carrying a basic skill at perfection. So I do what any reluctant captain does. I bully them a little. I lay out 6 rules: don't bother me, perfection skill entry only, a 2-star mission cap, and I'll back any of you against anything below martial spirit. And I gift them the Treading Snow manual as a welcome present, and I casually mention I learned 4 perfection skills as a freshman, which lands on them like a dropped anvil. Then I tell them, offhand, to go stare at the school's gate stone at 9 tonight, for an opportunity. I don't explain. I just remember what that stone did to me, and I decide my foolish juniors have earned the same door I bled through. 2 of them, Liang Changge and Li Changyuan, treat the whole squad mostly as a free meal ticket and spend the meeting plotting how to meet famous singers. And I decide I like them despite every instinct telling me not to. I max the wind concealment art, then spend 1 minute of enlightenment, a cool 1 billion experience, and buy myself a second concept: wind intent, a whole new axis of power grasped in 60 seconds that most cultivators never touch in a lifetime. Li Yuan feels it wake up from inside his legacy space and marvels. I can gather a breeze in my palm now, and that gate stone I sent my juniors to, it turns out to be a forging intent stone, seated with a domain master's martial will, and it puts all 7 of them through the same sword trial that tore me open my first week, and they come out the other side comprehending intent, Zhou A Long grasping saber intent, the girls their own. I handed my squad my very first inheritance without even meaning to. Senior, I think at the dead man who carved it, I owe you again. Then I stop climbing sideways and finally spend the mountain of experience on the one path that has no ceiling. Vajra, level 6, body refining. And when it breaks like nothing before it. My whole body unmakes itself and builds itself back, every fiber taken apart and relaid, pain past the point where the mind can hold it, so total that thought just switches off for a while and lets my body do the screaming. And then my heart stops. Actually stops and restarts with one single enormous beat, a drum struck once, that rolls out across the entire campus in a ring. Every martial artist inside that ring coughs and can't hear their own pulse under the thunder of mine. Across the school, Master Liu goes rigid inside Zhou A Long's scabbard because he knows exactly what that heartbeat means, and it's a thing he says is flatly impossible. Someone just became a body-tempering martial king, in a world only 500 years off the meteor, in a place too resource-poor to grow one, because body refining to martial king costs 5 times what chi refining does, 5 times the mountain. A barefoot orphan just did it anyway. Dean's son feels it from his office. The alchemy dean ruins a whole batch of grade 5 pills. The whole university feels a giant's pulse and doesn't know it belongs to the scholarship kid. I wake up in the wreckage of my own dorm, flick a finger, and dig a 4-meter crater. Then I float off the ground under nothing but my own flesh. And I laugh out loud because I flew, not on a gourd, not on a sword, on my own body. And a boy who couldn't move his legs in his last life is hovering over his bed giggling like an idiot. It cost 373 billion experience. I've got 37 billion left. And my first genuine thought, standing there as a secret martial king, is, ugh, I'm so poor. 37 billion is nothing. Vajra 6 to 7 alone needs 1 trillion. Listen to me. I count my fortune in billions and I feel broke. Somewhere the starving orphan who fainted from hunger is laughing at me. Fair enough. And being a martial king, even a secret one, finally lets me understand the strange thing about the old people who run this world. Why the deans look ancient when their power says they shouldn't. It's a lifespan ladder. A great master lives about 200 years, a martial spirit 300, a martial king 500, a martial emperor 1,000. By rights, half my professors should look 30. They don't, because the cultivation techniques this young world rebuilt after the meteor are crude, half-remembered things that age you as you climb. A broken inheritance, 500 years of people relearning from scraps. And only the ones with youth-preserving pills get to look as strong as they are. Which means every wrinkled dean who bid on me is carrying 2 centuries of clawing up a ladder with the rungs half missing. I stopped finding them slow after I worked that out. I started finding them unkillable. A month vanishes in that breakthrough, and when I surface, the deans have all happened by to watch my juniors demo their new footwork, secretly checking whether the leader's prophesied world changer is hiding among them, someone stronger than me. I arrive invisible, folded into the wind, and step out of thin air between Dean's Sun and Zhou A Long and my perfection wind. Intent rattles even the martial emperors in attendance. I watch the demo half asleep, college kid babysitting elementary schoolers, and then Dean's Sun tells me something that wipes the smirk clean off my face. The day I carried Zhou A Long and the girls home in my gourd, showing off, I saved their lives. The trains they'd have taken were ambushed that day. Nearly every running train was wiped out, 1,000 students gone, and 2 of the dead were Jiangnan instructors, Li Fei and Feng Yujia. The 2 diligent, kind mentors who escorted me to this university a year ago, back when I was the scholarship nobody in the front row VIP seat. Both dead in battle. I go quiet. The mask comes off for a second, no joke to reach for. If I'd been on that train, I think, if I'd ridden instead of flown, maybe they'd have lived. I didn't know I was saving my juniors when I did it. I didn't know I was failing my mentors either. That's the thing nobody tells you about being strong. You're never in all the places at once. Then the juniors beg to know how fast I learned my own footwork, and I hold up 3 fingers and let them guess 3 months and tell them 3 days. Perfection in 3 days. And I let the flex land, because a man's a loud one, and because it's easier than staying in the quiet. I'm about to fly off when an old voice says my name. Liu Liang? Yan elderly couple, leaning on 2 young cousins, 2 middle-aged men behind them, and the old woman's voice cracks in half when she gets a real look at me. You look exactly like Xiang when he was young. Child, where is your father? I don't know these people. I say so. And the old woman says she's my grandmother, and shows me a photograph of a man at 20 who has my exact face, and it snags something loose in my memory. My father, in this body's childhood, staring grimly at old photos, then one night burning his most treasured one with a look of pure relief. The grandfather, a martial emperor, demands I acknowledge my ancestors. The uncles crush down on me with martial spirit pressure to make me kneel, and I look at this whole powerful, tearful, entitled family, and what I feel is nothing warm at all, because here's the arithmetic they didn't do before they came. I was an orphan at 8, I starved, the state cut me off at 18, and I fainted from hunger grinding to survive, and in all those years, this mighty Guo family, with its martial school and its emperor patriarch, never once came looking for the grandson bleeding in a slum 2 cities over. Not once. And now, the very month I turn up famous on television, here they are, wanting me back. They didn't come for the orphan. They came for the prodigy. Being stupid isn't a crime, I tell them. Being arrogant and stupid is. The uncles curse me. One of the cousins spits that I was born of a mother and raised without a father, the exact wrong thing to say to me, and my rage takes shape as a leg of pure wind. Wind god kicks scything at the boy, before the grandfather snorts and disperses it into a gale that leaves the cousins looking like beggars, one girl shrieking over her ruined hair. The grandmother pleads. Contact your father, she says. I haven't seen my son in 10 years. My parents, I tell her flat, have been dead more than 10 years. And you have the nerve to ask me to bring them out for you. She staggers, ashen, and asks how Xiang died, and I tell her to go find out herself. Isn't the mighty Guo family able to dig up something that small? The grandfather switches from threats to bribery. Acknowledge us, and I'll give you the best resources and a powerful backer. A backer, and that's the one that does it, because it's so exactly wrong about who I am. I rise off the ground, slowly, 1 step of empty air at a time, until I'm standing on nothing, looking down at all of them. Does he need a backer? I say. Other people would rely on him. I am my own greatest support. Then a giant gourd forms under my feet and I'm gone, and the whole school watches the captain vanish into the sky, and somewhere behind me a martial emperor is regretting the grandson he threw away twice. What none of them can tell, what makes it a good exit instead of a fatal one, is that the whole thing was an act. Standing on the void, walking on wind, burned through half my true energy in about a minute, at martial warrior rank, even with the Danhai, I couldn't have held that pose much longer without the whole bluff collapsing. My real trump, the body-tempering martial king underneath, I never showed. A trump you spend cheaply isn't a trump. I fly off exhausted and grinning, and I point the gourd at the endless sea on the far border, because there's a whole ocean out there I've never eaten, and an ocean means beasts, and beasts mean treasures, and treasures mean I stop being so embarrassingly poor at a mere 37 billion. Behind me, the family eats itself. The grandfather breaks down alone. He was forced by clan politics to cast out his own son once, and he's just lost the boy's boy too. The dying grandmother only ever wanted to see Xiang's grave, and the 2 uncles, the ones who quietly engineered my father's exile all those years ago, get a message, relax, and coldly agree that the safest secret is a dead one. That some people should be arranged to die quietly so the truth of what they did to my father stays buried. I don't know that part yet. But the family that abandoned me is about to become one more debt on a very long list. I've got room. I always make room. And while I'm flying off feeling like the main character, the actual chosen one is sitting in a dorm somewhere feeling like garbage, because the gap between him and me just got demonstrated in front of the whole school, and the old sword spirit in his scabbard has to talk him off the ledge. Which brings me to the funniest thing I'll learn about Zhou Along's whole setup, and I only learn it later, eavesdropping. His master, Master Liu, the ancient soul who feeds him advanced techniques and cryptic wisdom and stories of having reached the martial god realm on the great cultivation continent, is a fraud. Not entirely, the man's a real cultivator soul, but the legend is inflated to the moon. He was, by his own private admission, a penniless slacker and small-time hoodlum who once trailed after an actual sword immortal and absorbed a fraction of his shine, and he has spent the afterlife telling a wide-eyed orphan that he was practically a god because only a kid earnest enough to believe it would keep pushing hard enough to make the lie worth telling. Master Liu consoles Zhou Along, sometimes looking up at someone is better than being invincible, and Zhou Along, fired up, vows to surpass his master and me and everyone, and breaks through on the spot, and Master Liu, inside the scabbard, thinks, how could I ever compare to the real legend? Only this fool would believe me. The chosen one is running on a motivational lie told by a con artist, and it's working. Honestly, respect. That's the most cultivation story thing I've ever heard, and I have a panel that eats worlds. 7 days over open water get me nearly nothing. I've learned by now that the 150 billion stalactite was a once-in-a-life fluke and ordinary rocks give me lint, and then a city rises out of the horizon. A strange one, with a single enormous wall facing the sea and 3 low cheap ones facing everything else. Wenhai City. A frontier fortress on the edge of an endless ocean, and I go in wearing a different face and a fake name, Zhou Guang, capping my aura at martial spirit with the concealment art because a place like this checks. It checks with blood. There's a demon-detecting pillar at the gate. A drop of your blood turns it green if you're human, and red if you're a Black Lotus or Beast Gate cultivator wearing a stolen skin, at which point the whole guard swarms you. Only martial spirits and above bother coming to Wenhai, so they don't check IDs. That would insult a martial spirit, which is exactly the loophole a disguised martial king strolls through. I get tested, come up green and human, and I'm in. I nearly get sidetracked into a brothel, and I want to be honest about the internal negotiation, because it's the stupidest fight I've had in 2 lifetimes. On one shoulder, there's the part of me that just became a martial king, and figures I've earned an evening off. On the other, there's the part of me that has read too many cultivation stories and solemnly recites that women slow your sword draw, that without a female character, a man will surely become a god. The 2 of them go at it right there on the street, and the sword draw side wins by a hair at the literal threshold. And I walk out fast, telling myself, Prodigy, you nearly ruined your whole career. The girls were pretty. I'm only human. Barely. The city's real business runs out of Wenhai Tower, a mission hall like a front line, and it's run under the eye of Lord Zhou, the city lord, a martial emperor whose mere presence chills a room. I watch him work before he ever notices me. A tester in line has a drop that's too dark, too thin on vitality, and Lord Zhou catches it in a heartbeat. A martial king wearing a martial spirit's face, an infiltrator. The imposter bolts, unleashes twin golden dragons, and Lord Zhou crushes the whole thing with a wave and teleports the man back mid-flight and shatters every bone in his body without killing him, because he wants to know where the real person whose identity got stolen is. Then he does something that teaches me more about this place than any orientation could. He turns on the rest of the room, everyone who stood in that line and failed to notice a flaw he caught in a heartbeat, and he bars every one of them from Wenhai's real missions for 6 months. They protest. One of them puffs up, I'm a martial spirit 9, and Lord Zhou swats him flying across the hall and says, flat, that a man showed an obvious weakness, and not one of them saw it. And he'd rather bar them now than send people out to fetch their corpses later. A lowly martial spirit questioning a martial emperor and the temperature of the room and the way it ends, everybody suddenly finding the floor very interesting. This is a city that keeps you alive by hurting your pride before the sea can hurt something worse. And the stolen power finishes the infiltrator on its own. Denied a fresh drop of blood, the man's hair whitens, his flesh caves, he ages 300 years in a few breaths and crumbles to nothing. That's the price of borrowing strength you didn't earn, Lord Zhou says. Lose it, and the world takes back everything all at once. I file that away, because it's the exact opposite of my situation. My power is bound to my soul. Nobody's taking mine back. Then it's my turn at the Realm Stone, and I forget for 1 second to be careful. I'm supposed to tap it and let it read a martial spirit. The crowd's already snickering, betting the back door nobody will barely register. So I backhand it, lazy, half strength, and the Realm Stone, a device built to survive a full Martial King's strike, splits clean in 2 with a crack that echoes off the walls. Silence. Then Lord Joe roars, laughing and winces at the same time, because that stone was expensive and I just ruined it. Good, 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 Martial King, level 3. And I stand there realizing my idle cloud-dispelling palm, off my body-refining track, already hits Martial King 3 die, that if I'd actually tried, I'd be knocking on the Emperor's door, and I keep my face bored and my voice flat, and I say the only thing a man in my position can say, just the initial stage of Martial King, nothing to brag about, nothing to brag about, to a room of martial spirits who took 190 years apiece to reach their rank, watching a kid who isn't even 100 years old snap their testing stone in half. Comparing yourself to other people, Lord Joe tells them, can be fatal. He pulls me aside privately. He already knows Zhou Guang is a fake name and doesn't care, and he makes me an offer worth breaking a stone for. There's an unstable secret space out over the sea, rich in voidstone, the rare metal that storage rings are made from, and it can only be entered by cultivators under 100 years old and below Martial Emperor, which is precisely why he can't go himself. I hear the word voidstone and my pathetic 2 cubic meter ring aches with ambition. The deal, haul back a quota of voidstone and rare metal, and the reward is a 100 cubic meter storage ring. I sign so fast I barely feel the heavenly Tao oath bind to my soul, break it and my cultivation collapses to martial apprentice forever, permanently, no appeals. And here's the part that makes it real. The oath binds to my soul, which means it binds to me, the actual me, Liu Liang, not to the paper name Zhou Guang I signed it under. That's why Lord Joe shrugged at my fake identity and said he'd just treat me as Zhou Guang. He knew the oath would reach past the alias and grab the soul underneath, and there's no forging that. Only a handful of people have ever earned this deal, he mentions, and only 2 of them died doing it, so bury any bodies I find. Comforting. No pressure. And to sweeten it, I claim a heaven-grade body-refining finger technique off the shelf, the star-shattering finger, a skill the clerk warns me is cursed. Kill 1,000, lose 800 of yourself, which is a real problem for a normal body and no problem at all for mine. I master it in an afternoon. Now I've got reach to go with the muscle. The expedition assembles at the seawall, 2 identical Martial Emperor twins, Lord Zhou Jian and his brother Zhou Bo, and a handful of recruits, most of whom take one look at my Martial Spirit 6 disguise, decide I'm a backdoor charity case, and start bad-mouthing me for making the city lords wait. The plan is 100 kilometers over open ocean. Everyone self-flies the first 60, then the emperors tow the group the rest, because a martial spirit's flight runs dry around 60, and teleporting over that distance risks getting your body scattered across a spatial fault. I stow my telltale gourd and fly on my own. They forget me at the 70-kilometer mark. Just forget me, tow the others off at double speed, leave the Martial Spirit 6 backdoor kid to drop into the ocean, so I catch up. On pure wind intent, gather the wind behind my back, erase the resistance ahead, double my own speed, and I close to within 10 meters of a Martial Emperor under my own power, and Lord Joe, who left me behind on purpose to test me, says, "Good lad," with real envy in it, because Perfection Realm wind intent is a hair's breadth from riding the wind the way an Emperor does. The 2 recruits who sneered at Martial Spirit 6 watch me fly at Emperor speed and wish very hard that they could climb into the sea. The island grows a giant mushroom of a tree, the tiger blood tree, green-trunked, crimson sap, deadly to drink, but its fruit saves 5 years of cultivation, ripe only once every 50 years. The recruits look at it the way I look at glowing rocks, already vowing to come back in half a century to harvest it, and Lord Joe tells them that the sap is poison, but the fruit has to be picked dead ripe or it cripples you, and that you can speed the ripening by watering the roots with real dragon blood. Which is when someone asks whether dragons are actually real, and Lord Joe mentions offhand that they are, that emperors have watched a few of them flee into the deep ocean, that a snake cultivates 500 years to become a flood dragon and 1,000 to become a true one, and that most of the martial spirits standing here, who live only 300 years, will die of old age before this tree ever fruits again. The mood gets quiet after that. It's a sobering thing to travel 100 kilometers to see a treasure you already know you won't live to taste. Then a vortex tears open in the air and I step through first. Inside is a sky-filling yellow goby, and it does not like me. The secret realm suppresses my wind intent. My cloud-dispelling palm barely clears 10 meters before the sand swallows it, and a 2-meter rock beast with green eyes charges me wielding actual earth concept, a stone monster using a concept which should be impossible. I fight it hand-to-hand as a body-tempering martial king, fists trading, both of us staggering. And then I put a star-shattering finger through its earth concept fist and it bursts like a firework and dies. It crumbles into rare metal and a heart-sized voidstone weighing 20 caddies, one beast, a fifth of my whole quota. You old fool, I think at Lord Joe. I guess I can barely forgive you for leaving me in the ocean. Then I walk the wrong way, into worse wind. It climbs from martial spirit strength to martial king, shreds my true essence armor, flays my clothes clean off, one hand over my eyes, one hand preserving my dignity. A martial king running naked across a desert, and drained from the finger technique, with true essence useless against wind that strong, I run on body alone toward a patch of dead calm in the distance. And at the crossroads of advance or retreat, I go forward, because a martial artist who retreats once retreats forever, and forcing my true essence and my physical body to fuse under that pressure births something new, a fresh kind of power, and I burst through into a silent valley and collapse, wrecked, and heal by forcing the embedded sand out of my own wounds so they'll finally close. The valley is sealed inside an invisible barrier, a formation, a thing only my past life novels ever taught me, because nobody on this world uses them, with a stone house and an empty herb garden and a stone table. I touch the door and it disintegrates to dust, revealing a skeleton seated inside, and the skeleton crumbles too, and in the last instant, its hollow eye sockets seem to twitch up into a faint smile. Creepy, but a body-tempering martial king doesn't spook, so I go in, and on the table there's one dusty jade slip that, unlike everything else, refuses to decay. It's blank. I toss it, ransack the empty house, find nothing, and then remember. Jade slips are red with mental energy, not eyes. I press it to my forehead, and a man appears in my mind. Blue robe, hands behind his back. If you can accept this slip, I'm dead. 9,000 years I cultivated, invincible in the mortal world. Gu Feng, the sword demon. A recorded echo, telling me that to be teleported to this valley, my talent must be at least heaven grade. So I may inherit his mantle, and I get indignant and inform a 9,000-year-old immortal that I got in on my own merit. Thank you, I wasn't teleported anywhere. He laughs. He finds me interesting. He leaves me his supreme technique, celestial flight, usable with any weapon, and a storage ring buried somewhere in the valley. And he mentions a senior brother, and a senior sister, and a place called Central China, and I call him Master, and he laughs again and says a fine disciple before death made his life worthwhile, and fades. 2 cheap masters became 3. Every one of them a legend from a world I've never seen. Every one of them chose to teach me instead of taking my body. I'm starting to think the universe owes them, and it's going to make me pay it back. Across the divide, on Shenzhou, the moment Gu Feng's echo dies, the people he left behind feel it. A blue-robed woman cuts down a mob of hypocrites who called her a witch and flees to find her senior brother. A blue-robed beggar turns an attacking knight to red foam with a glance because he's in a bad mood, and mortals mistake him for a descended god. And deep underground, a woman in white pours her own lifelight into a broken sword and sends it bursting up out of the earth toward another world entirely, hoping whoever catches it meets someone like the man she lost. I don't see any of it, but a sword is now falling across the stars toward my world, and someday it's going to land. The technique Qin left me, the heaven-swallowing demonic art, turns out to be my Northern Darkness divine art's long-lost twin, except instead of experience, it eats ambient spiritual chi and even other people's hard-won cultivation. Useless to a system holder in most ways, but it does one glorious thing. It triples my passive income. My automatic gain jumps from 90 a minute to 270. Free money, forever, faster. I master it, absorb the valley's whole garden of time-mutated weeds for a few million experience, dig Qin's promised ring out of a stone slab he playfully hid it inside, and find it holds a robe that shrugs off my full-body king strength and an indestructible sword pendant. Then I ride the valley's tailwind back out into clear blue sky. The killing sandstorm, it turns out, was just a local patch of bad luck. Story of my life. Bad luck with treasure buried in the middle of it. The rest of the realm is where I turn petty theft into an art form. There's 100 Jin block of solid void stone sitting in the sand, and a man charges up snarling at me to back off it, one of the recruits who sneered at me at the wall, Gu Ming, and when I don't grovel, he decides to simply kill me for it, because who'd ever know, in a secret realm, he throws a full power fist, I catch it one-handed and crush it, and he switches instantly to begging, promising to call me master, which is a lie he's already planning to renege on. So I get what I need out of him, how you mine Voidstone, and then I drain him with Northern Darkness for 80 million experience, and his dying curse is that he'll haunt me as a ghost. And I have to point out that he doesn't even know my name, so good luck with the paperwork. And then, tallying the loot off 30-odd rock beasts, I make the discovery that pays for the whole trip. Voidstone won't absorb. I can feel the huge energy locked inside it, but the art can't pull it out. But metal ore absorbs beautifully. 1 Jin of the good stuff is worth a martial master kill, 110,000 experience, and the rare gray-black crystal runs 400,000 a Jin. I stand there in the desert price-checking rocks like a lunatic. A psychiatrist wouldn't even need to run the test. Here's the exploit though, the part I'm actually proud of. When I drain an ore's energy for experience, its hardness and its weight don't change. The rock stays exactly as heavy and exactly as solid, only the power inside is gone. which means I can suck the experience out of 1,000 jin of metal and still hand that same 1,000 jin to Wenhai City to satisfy my quota. They asked for 1,000 jin of rare metal. They did not, if you read the contract very carefully, ask that the energy still be in it. I settle on a fraud ratio, mix in 10% genuinely intact ore so it doesn't read as suspiciously dead, drain the other 90%, and even that 10% stings, because intact ore is millions of experience I'm choosing to leave on the table for the sake of not getting my soul collapse to martial apprentice. I grin the specific grin that nobody who actually knows me, not Zhao Hu, not Dean's son, would recognize on my face. The starving orphan grew up into a con artist with a magic stomach. Somewhere my parents are either proud or filing a complaint. I spend the rest of the month mining and draining, save one detour to rescue 2 of the other recruits from a rock beast swarm. The same 2 who'd scorned me, now sobbing, "Senior, save us," the second they learn what I am. Who thank me with a strange jade token they looted from a ruined village. It's craft, not of this world. The village turns out to hold an artifact refiner's ancient diary that dates the whole collapsing realm to some southern wilderness sect thousands of years dead, which is fascinating to exactly nobody but me, and useful to no one. And Gu Ming's 2 friends come looking for their missing partner and try to ambush me from behind, and one of them, cornering, drops an overloading blade that kills his own sworn brother to cover his escape, so I show the dying man exactly who betrayed him before I give him a merciful end, then run down the coward and drain them both. 100 million experience. Then the whole secret realm begins to collapse, and the vortex spits me out. Back at the seawall, the twins have waited 3 days, and the tally is grim. It's a poor year. A normal one nets 100-odd caddies of voidstone ahead, and this batch came up thin. Several recruits made a great start and then hit a run of bad luck and came out short, which means 100 years of service owed to Wenhai City each, and the emperors console them the way you console the living. At least you're the living. The 2 I pulled off the rock beasts fulfilled their quotas and weep their thanks. And 3 men who were still inside when the vortex shrank and vanished don't come out at all. Among them, though nobody here will ever know it, the 2 who tried to murder me for a rock. A grim, unlucky year, the twins agree. Then I empty my entire haul onto Lord Zhou's office floor, a mountain of voidstone and ore that dents the stone, and the room goes silent. Lord Zhou, dry. Next time transfer it into a ring instead of showing off. My quota's more than met. I feel the soul oath dissolve, free at last, and Li never works out why the ore reads so weak on Qi, because he assumes low purity, and I assume he'll never think to ask a martial king why his rocks are hollow. The twins invite me to truly join Wenhai City. 4 tasks a year, Earth-grade techniques, 10,000-year stalactite fluid, tiger blood fruit. And I ask them the only question I actually crossed an ocean for. Do you have a meridian continuation pill or the succession vein grass to make one? Because Uncle Yong's meridians have been crippled for 19 years, and this is the whole reason I chase every realm and every treasure. Lord Zhou goes grave. It's rated grade 5, he says, but it's rarer than a grade 6, 50 years ago maybe. But now there may be almost none left in the entire world. And my heart drops, because I've been carrying that pill in my head like a promise I already made, and here's a martial emperor telling me it might not exist anymore. I pin my last hope on the coming 10 secret realm. I decline to join. Lord Zhou doesn't push. Everyone walks their own path, he says. No need to apologize. I do get some parting business done. I ask for a heaven-grade technique and stun 2 martial emperors who can't actually give me one because such things need a recording medium this world doesn't have, so I settle for cultivation speed arts that boost my passive income further, and I get a warning that comes with a body. On my way out of the city, the streets are stampeding toward Wenhai Tower because today only martial kings may enter, because a martial king named Zi Yuan, a mild, forgettable man who'd helped me when I first arrived and who I'd already clocked as a hidden king masking as a martial spirit, was just carried in gray as ash. Not wounded, exactly. Drained. I walk past the barred crowd while a kind stranger warns me I'm not allowed in, and then watches me walk in anyway, and inside there's a dozen martial kings and a very bad mood. They sent 10 martial kings to explore a place called Formosa Island. 5 came back. 4 of those are crippled. Zi Yuan, gray as ash, waves me over and tells me the shape of it. Level 6 demon kings you can survive in a group. A sleeping level 7 they were smart enough to tiptoe around. And then, a level 7 iron crocodile that came ashore on the north side and turned an expedition into a massacre. One of theirs, a gun king, fought a demon king alone and forced a forbidden blood-burning technique to live through it, burned 50+ years off his own lifespan. A martial king who lives 500 now, down under 100 left and in exchange he touched the martial emperor threshold, and humanity may get a new emperor out of it if it doesn't kill him first. What he brought back is why the island matters, an evolving demon grass, nearly ripe out there, a holy medicine that reverts a beast to its ancestral form and works on people too, that makes the leap to martial emperor trivial for whoever eats it. The whole room wants it. Not one of them dares go take it from a pack of level 7s. My mouth waters. An island of wounded high-tier beasts is billions of experience with legs, and then I do the honest math and bow out. I've got no body-refining art beyond one finger technique. A level 7 Emperor Beast would end me, and no number of experience points is worth my second life. And Zun, a man I've spoken to twice, warns me off the island like he actually cares whether I live. A near stranger, spending his last breath of energy to keep me off a death trap. It warms me more than it should, this whole cruel world, and it keeps handing me people like that. Then Feng Tian's call finally punches through. I've had my bracelet hidden under the Zhouguang disguise for 2 months, so as far as Jiangnan knows, I've been dead again, with the date I've been waiting on. The 10 Secret Realm is confirmed. It opens at 9 in the morning on the 11th, about 20 days out, and the entrance is inside the Magic City, Shanghai, and because it's unstable and might open early, Jiangnan, being farthest, leaves on the 1st. Be back before then, he says. I point the gourd at home. On my way. Zhaohu's grass is on the other side of that door, and I've waited 19 years and crossed an ocean to reach it. 20 more days is nothing. I get home to find my chosen one has been busy. Zhou Along's already a martial artist 5, the girls right behind him, the whole squad screaming up the ranks, and a new Mu Ye board mission waiting. Guard 3 celebrities at a Jiangnan concert, Jiang Feng, Liang Qing, Feng Ning. A 2-star job that pays out a Luo-level skill for basically standing around, because a martial king already guards the singers in secret and the juniors are decoration. Free money. I take it. It's in 5 days, and I've got time to kill before Shanghai. Turns out the singers aren't just singers. Their voices induce a pseudo-enlightenment, a brief emptying of the mind that helps low-realm cultivators break through, which makes a stadium full of them the most valuable target in the country, and the Black Lotus knows it. Because the cult's willpower rots from everything it devours, and these 3 voices are the antidote it craves. So the plan, laid out in a dark room full of cultists, is to grab Jiang Feng and the 2 women mid-concert and teleport them straight to the Little Day country, Japan, a whole nation that's pledged itself to the Black Lotus, where no one on Earth could ever trace them. My free money babysitting job just became the front line of a kidnapping, and the cult doesn't wait outside the gates. Its people are already in the crowd, mixed into the 80,000 fans, wearing ordinary faces, looking at the packed stands the way a starving man looks at a buffet, because their kind rots from the inside on what they consume, and a stadium of warm bodies reads to them as inventory. A patrolling martial artist catches a whiff of something evil in the air and can't place it, can't pin it to a face, and shrugs it off, because how do you find one wolf in a flock of 80,000 sheep? They pull their masks up and they wait for the signal. I'm up on a roof doing math about reward tiers, and there are monsters sitting in row after row below me, humming along to a song from my dead planet, counting the house. The night itself starts as comedy. My juniors are hunting for Green Room 202, except the cheapskate stadium, in a triumph of budgeting, labeled every single room 202, so the search becomes a door-to-door lottery. Liang Changjie and Li Changyuan, desperate to be the ones who meet the pretty singers, throw open the first 202 they find, and it's a men's bathhouse full of beefy masseurs who wave them cheerfully in. They flee. They find the next 202. It's a women's bathhouse, except the ladies have arms like dock workers and beckon with real enthusiasm, and the 2 of them come out the color of raw liver, spiritually deceased, having aged more in 90 seconds than I did in a 5-day coma. The real room 202, when they finally hit it, opens on the singer Feng Ning, who, plot twist, already knows the 2 girls on my squad and pulls them inside, and bars the boys, who have earned nothing tonight but trauma and a lifelong flinch at the number 202. I fly in over 80,000 people, the most I've ever seen in one place, and land on the office roof next to Zhao Ye, the very instructor who logged all my truancy, who's stunned I'm alive, and even more stunned when Jiang Feng takes the stage and I go pale, because Jiang Feng sings a song from my past life. Not a song like one. The song, the actual rhythm and most of the actual words, an earth pop anthem, positive energy, and bright. The kind of thing that used to play in a hospital waiting room a whole universe away. And it drifts out over a fantasy stadium, a world and a death away from where it was written, and it lands on me like a ghost walking through my chest. Is this heaven's idea of a joke or heaven's idea of a gift? I genuinely can't tell. The instructor beside me, a tough old teacher, is quietly crying about people he's lost. The whole crowd goes silent and empty and open, 80,000 people breathing as one, and when the song ends, spiritual chi floods the stands and cultivators break through in waves, one boy jumping a whole realm on the strength of a melody from my dead planet. I feel nothing, no enlightenment at all, And Zhao Ye tells me that only means my mind is already unburdened, which is why I climb so fast. And I privately think about the fact that I fret over experience points and heaven-grade techniques every waking minute and decide unburdened might be the funniest lie I've ever been handed. Then the song ends, an evil aura surges, and someone shouts, "Let's do it," and the stadium turns into a slaughterhouse. Black Lotus and 10,000 beasts cultists cut through the packed crowd, and the panic is a physical thing. 80,000 people trying to become 40,000 exits. A cowardly great master starts robbing fleeing fans instead of helping them. And I put a sword intent bolt through his forehead from the roof. Just this once, Zhao Ye warns. And just this once, I agree. The catch is cruel. Only grandmasters and below are allowed to fight, because if the hidden martial kings on either side actually move, the shockwaves alone kill the whole crowd. So 100,000 civilians are hostages to a stalemate, and the enemy leader steps up to explain the terms. His name is Li Wei, and I recognize the shape of him before I know his name, because I've met his kind before. I killed him once already, and his name was Mei Wei. Li Wei was a Guild Reserve martial king who defected to the Black Lotus, and when an old friend screams why, the answer is the same poison exactly. He got less than a tenth of the resources the connected kids got, a fragmented technique and no backing, while a man with a powerful grandfather got everything, and he decided the system that starved him deserved to burn. Same wound as Mei Wei. Same wound honestly as mine, the poor kid the world writes off. The only difference is what the three of us did with it. Mei Wei and Li Wei turned the wound outward and sold their species for a shortcut. I turned it into 100 nights in the brush. I'm not sure the universe thinks that difference is fair. I only know it's the whole difference between us. Above the crowd, the real chess game starts. Yan, old protector of Zhang Feng's, a martial king, descends to hold the line, and a Black Lotus martial king wearing borrowed emperor power drops out of the void to lock him in a sky duel and free the enemy's hands. Then two more tear the air, and one of them is my own director, Feng Tian, and the man he's fighting detonates mushroom clouds inside and outside the city and names his terms: no martial spirit or higher moves for 30 minutes or tens of thousands die. His name is Zhou Wenxiong, and he is not a cultist foot soldier. He's the head of state of the Little Day country, a man born in China who changed his name when he went home to rule it, and who has pledged an entire nation to the Black Lotus and its god cult. A whole country of vampires with a god king at the top, and the god king is standing over my city detonating mushroom clouds as a negotiating tactic. He gives his people 30 minutes, kill the singer's hidden guards, take the three of them alive, and if any martial spirit or higher so much as twitches to help, the whole stadium and half the city die. It is, I have to admit, an efficient threat. Nothing motivates restraint like 100,000 hostages you didn't have to feed. Checkmate. Feng Tian retreats. The strong are frozen by the hostages, and everyone below Grandmaster is left to fight over the three singers. Down in the melee, my foolish juniors find their spines. Liang Changge and Li Changyuan, the two who spent the afternoon bursting into the wrong bathhouses hunting green rooms, plant themselves in front of the two women singers with their legs visibly shaking and their arms flung wide, terrified and doing it anyway, which is the exact recipe that makes a hero and a comedian the same person. And Zhou Along earns his prophecy. He outcuts a martial master with raw saber intent, the concept-wielding girls gang in beside him, and when a killing blow finally comes that he can't dodge, he breaks through to martial artist 6 under the pressure of it, mid-fight, the way I broke through inside a giant sword, pain with a shape, tipping over into power. Then Jiang Fing drops his own disguise, a secret Great Master 7, pill-boosted, the elegant singer revealed as a fighter, and blasts a cultist across the stage and gets blasted down himself a breath later because pills aren't foundation and the enemy leader is the real thing. And Li Wei turns his blade on my juniors, and Zhou Along, cornered, instead of letting his sword spirit possess him, looks straight up at the roof and screams the two words that put me on the spot in front of the entire world. Senior, help me! Which senior? Even Zhao Ye doesn't know who the kid means. My whole plan was to sit up here and let the protagonist have his moment. That's what protagonists are for. But I've just been publicly begged for help by my own squad member in front of 100,000 people and a live camera, and a captain who lets that go is a captain nobody follows. So I move before I finish deciding to. Even Master Liu, the old sword spirit riding Zhou Along's blade, doesn't see it. A column of water made of pure sword ki drops out of the sky, shatters Li Wei's saber intent, and hammers his phantom blade into the ground. Then I come down after it. Gray robe, sword pendant, black hair loose in the wind, and the crowd's terror cracks for one absurd second into so handsome. Li Wei sizes me up as just a martial warrior 9 and dismisses me. I introduce myself anyway, Liu Liang, ordinary sophomore, team leader of Mu Ye, and the name lands because I've killed enough of his people that he knows it. I let him tag me, scatter a few deliberate flecks of red to sell the lie that I'm barely hanging on. Then I answer with one slash, a dragon-wreathed shadow of sword and wind, intent that runs so much deeper and longer than anything he can match. He reads my sword intent at level 7 or 8 and my true essence thicker than his own, and does the math and understands he cannot pay the price to kill me in the time he has left, so he calls the retreat. He hauls his wounded and his dead back through the void, and the 3 singers he came for stay exactly where they are, alive, on the ground, guarded by a poor kid on a babysitting mission who wasn't supposed to matter. Promise kept. The people I was hired to protect walk out of that stadium breathing. That's the whole job, and I did it. Then the 2 Jiangnan instructors land beside me and immediately ruin the gravity of the moment by advertising the university straight into a fleeing streamer's live camera. Jiangnan students are this capable. The Imperial Capital and Magic Capital kids all ran. Transfer to us. A recruitment ad broadcast live over a crime scene with an on-air invitation to the 2 surviving singers to enroll, while I blast the camera rig to dust before they can make it any worse. The deans return through the void, satisfied with me, and the haggling begins, because I complain immediately that the mission exceeded its scope and the rewards too low, gesturing at my wounded juniors and pointedly not at my own finger, which has already healed and rather undercuts the bit. They promise a bigger reward and vanish with the 3 singers. I send Liang Changge and Li Changyuan home on their own. I've got something to do, and that something is the single greediest mistake I've made in 2 lifetimes. Here's the mistake. I tagged Li Wei with a thread of my energy during our fight, and now that he's fleeing wounded, I can follow that thread, and my brain, my greedy magic stomach brain says, follow it, catch the retreating cultists, eat them for experience. So I do. I track the tag out to a quiet suburb, licking my lips over a payday, and the trail dead ends into an ambush, a martial emperor, waiting for me. A blade of sword light lances at me out of empty air, and a voice muses, almost bored, that what he just threw was under 30% of his peak. That if he could only pin me here for 15 minutes, he'd recover enough to kill me outright. This kid, he says, will threaten our unification of Watersphere. Then, because his side burned too much power moving people across the world today, he decides not to spend the 15 minutes himself and leaves, finishing me to the church. But the sentence is already out. A martial emperor, one of the beings whose names get carved into mountains, has looked at a martial warrior 9 and seen a future threat to his conquest of the entire world. I've just been added to a kill list written at the top of the food chain. My greed for a few more experience points walked me straight in front of a god, and the only reason I'm not dead is that he was tired. I wait until the sword light is 2 meters from my face, and I answer it with everything I have, a star-shattering finger threaded with sword intent, and the collision levels a forest and blows me out the far side onto my gourd, and I run. I actually run. I don't stop running until I'm most of the way home, and the whole flight I'm doing the math. His strike was under 1/3 of his real power, and I'm this wrecked, bones cracked, true essence scraped to the floor. If he'd chased me, I'd be a stain. He didn't. I got to keep my second life on a coin flip that landed in my favor because a martial emperor had a busy afternoon. And the ripples of that concert spread out behind me while I bleed, because the whole thing was live-streamed to the entire country. In Honghai, Uncle Yang watches my feet and glows with pride for his boy, and then clutches his chest because his crippled meridians don't take excitement well, and his partner pills him and begs him to sell the slaughterhouse and get to safety, and he finally agrees. At Imperial Capital University, the rivals who wanted to fight me in person watch me drive off a martial spirit like it was nothing and quietly recalculate. At Magic Capital, my own estranged cousins go pale because they nearly picked a fight with me once and are now realizing how close they came and are starting to doubt out loud whether we're even related. And in Jianggu City, the grandmother who abandoned my orphan self weeps over the grandson she failed, decaying visibly now, her longevity pills losing the fight, begging to be taken to Honghai to spend her last days near my father's grave, while her 2 sons, the uncles who buried my father in the first place, watch the same broadcast and think only about how much more dangerous the family's loose end has become. The whole board rearranges around one live-streamed fight. I don't see any of it. I'm face down on a flying gourd holding my own ribs together. I land at Jiangnan a mess, caked in dust and grime, the bone showing white in my right index finger, and the one part of me that's spotless is Gu Feng's gray robe, which won't even stain, which somehow makes the rest of me look worse. Liu Rong offers me a grade 4 healing pill, and I wave it off, minor injury, and I heal the finger with blood energy, and it promptly bursts back open. That's when Bai Xinyuan drops out of the sky, flown back across the province the instant Feng Tian called him, and takes one look at my hand and goes still. There's a trace of martial emperor power seated in the wound. That's why it won't close. Harmless, he says. It'll just bleed for a few days, but everyone in earshot goes white because the sentence underneath it is impossible. A martial warrior 9 provoked a martial emperor, stood in front of one, took a strike, and flew home to complain about a finger. Bai flies off to investigate the site, and when he and the deans get there, the truth is worse and better than they feared. The Emperor's strike reads oddly weak because I forcibly channeled Martial King power to survive it, and the enemy clearly bought incredible information again at a terrible price to set the trap. Bai stands in the crater doing the arithmetic on what I am, and horror turns slowly into a delighted grin because he's just remembered the 10 secret realm is 20 days out, and Jiang Nan is sending a boy who tanks emperors. I call a squad meeting, mostly to scold Zhou Along for the public cry for help and to ask, please, never to beg me for rescue in front of a live camera again. And then I soften it the way I always do, with gifts instead of danger, perks, not harder missions. I dangle a free amazing technique until Liang Changge and Li Changyuan swear they'll dare anything for it, then reveal its price is the same one that lives at the bottom of the evil warding manual. I castrate myself and watch the whole room recoil while Gao Xin begs Zhou Along to promise he'll never cultivate it. Lesson delivered. Nothing is free, you just haven't found the price tag yet. Then I hand over the real gift. A high-grade mystic cultivation technique I won betting against Imperial Capital, free and clean, no catch. The deans want the truth though, and they corner me in Feng Tian's office to get it. Did I break through to Martial Master? Because that would disqualify me from the 10 secret realm, and they'd need a replacement. No, I tell them. My Qi is still Martial Warrior 9, their divine sense confirms it, and then confirms that my physical body is off every chart they own, my vital energy far past what a normal martial king should carry, and they huddle in silent telepathic conference over it long enough that I ask, out loud, whether the three of them are together. Then I give them the secret under the secret, the Vajra Unbreakable Divine Skill. Cultivated to level 6, that lands like the heartbeat did. Bai Xinyuan reached level 3 before he quit, because the power felt so-so, and level 6 to 7 needs a full trillion in resources. And here's a boy who pushed it to 6, which is how a Martial Warrior 9 stood in front of a Martial Emperor and lived. A body-tempering Martial King, hidden this whole time under a Martial Warrior disguise, under a rank 123,456 test score. Think about the distance in that sentence. A year and change ago, I was fainting from hunger in a slaughterhouse apron, a starving orphan whose own city called him trash, whose whole net worth was a bronze sword and a cheat named after a cartoon, and now 3 of the strongest people at one of the best universities in the country are standing in a locked office, pale, doing the math on the fact that their scholarship charity case just tanked a god and walked home. The dying boy on the hospital roof got a second life. He spent it climbing. And the climb turned him into the thing the monsters at the top of the world are starting to be afraid of. The rest is housekeeping, and it's funny because the immortal in me still has to go weapon shopping like a broke student. My latest sword broke, of course it did, they always do, so I ask Bai for a new one, confess I snapped the last one trying to cut a half-person tall voidstone, watch him nearly faint at the size of the voidstone, and trade him an artifact refiner's diary I looted from the dead realm for a yellow-grade sword. He starts reading the diary, has an epiphany about his own life's work, and teleports straight back to his workshop without actually handing me the sword. I got scammed. By a martial emperor. For free. Feng Tian consoles me, extorts a wine tax of my dukang, and tells me the Education Bureau already wired me over 1 million credits for the spirit transformation art I handed in, collect it from Sister Li at Logistics. And Sister Li, Zhao Feng, the great master who adopted me as a little brother back in Danan village, is where the whole episode quietly folds back on itself. She's stunned by the 1 million credits. She's never seen a student handed a number like that, and she keeps rereading the transfer like it might correct itself. And under the surprise, there's a sadness she's carried the whole time I've known her, a woman waiting on a man she won't let herself have. And then, shy, she asks me for a favor, bring her back a succession vein grass from the 10 secret realm, because she and the village chief Fengji were a golden couple once, until he burned a forbidden technique to save them both from a beast and wrecked his own meridians, and he won't marry her crippled. It's the exact same grass, the exact same medicine I need for Uncle Yang. 2 people I love, 2 sets of ruined meridians, 1 impossible herb growing behind 1 door that opens in 20 days. I tell her, yes, easy, I'll grab a few. Just a little grass, and I mean it as lightly as I can make it sound, and I feel the weight of it like an anchor, because I've been promising to fix Zhao Hu's legs for so long now that the promise has started to feel like the only thing I'm actually cultivating for. And back in Honghai, the storm I've been racing finally reaches Uncle Yang's door. The buyers come to the slaughterhouse in person now. They offer 3 million for a business the deal priced at 10, then 3.5, and when Zhao Hu slams the table and tells them 10 or leave, that he'll take them to the prosecutor's office. The lead one starts to say the quiet part, "They don't know who's behind us," before his boss cuts him off with a smile made of ice. They leave the way a tide leaves, and Zhao Hu stands alone in the office where he once handed a starving orphan 2 million yuan and a reason to live, gray-haired, chest-aching, and says the truest thing anyone says in this whole story, to no one, to the empty room. A storm is brewing. He has no idea how right he is. The faction the mayor sold the city to has been buying up slaughterhouses all over Honghai, and a slaughterhouse is a place a body goes to disappear, and the things that want what it hides are the same things that tried to kill me at a concert and ambushed me with a martial emperor's blade. The one clean, decent place in my entire origin, the one man left alive who loved my parents, is standing directly in the path of the exact evil I've spent a year and 2 near deaths fighting, and I'm not there. I'm a country away, sitting on a mountain of experience, 20 days out from a door, so let me tell you where the ledger actually stands, now that the dust of that concert has settled. A year and a half ago, I woke up in a body that was starving to death, an orphan whose city called him trash, whose whole fortune was a bronze sword and a cheat I named after a cartoon because it was the only thing I could afford to have standards about. Tonight, I'm the #1 ranked young cultivator in the country, a secret body-tempering martial king who stood in front of a martial emperor, took his blade, and flew home to complain about a sore finger. That's the distance. That's what 100 nights in the brush and 1 soul-deep golden finger and 3 dead masters from 3 dead worlds will buy a boy who refused to quit. The dying kid on the hospital roof wanted one more sunset. He got a second life, and he spent every hour of it climbing, and the climbing turned him into the thing the monsters at the top of the world now write on a kill list, because that's the part that doesn't fit in a highlight reel. I'm marked now. A martial emperor looked at me and saw a threat to his conquest of the entire world and told his people to finish me, and those people do not forget. The mayor who murdered my parents is a rank above me and closing his fist on Uncle Yong as we speak. And the only medicine that fixes crippled meridians, the grass that gives Zhao Hu his legs back and gives Zhao Feng her golden couple back, grows behind one door in a realm that opens in 20 days, guarded by every faction on the planet that wants my head, wrapped around a dead martial saint's legacy that all of them would burn a city to reach. I fly to Shanghai on the 1st. I step through the 10 secret realm at 9 in the morning on the 11th. First, the way I walk into everything, a starving orphan's stubbornness wearing a martial king's body with a promise to keep and a mayor to bury and a stomach that eats worlds. There's a tournament in there. There's an inheritance in there. There's an ocean of enemies in there. And somewhere in it, a single blade of grass with Uncle Yong's name on it. Ask me if I'm scared to walk into a place like that. I've already died once. Trust me, this is the good part.